Hello, everyone. I'm joined today with Bonegolem, the creator of DeepFreeze.it, a website for tracking ethical issues in games journalism. Um, their tagline is "Your trust should be earned." It keeps track of various different gaming publications, as well as individual games journalists themselves who work for these publications. It keeps track of the various ethical issues that they've been involved with, as well as whether or not corrections have been issued relating to these ethical violations. So, how are you doing today, Bone Golem?
Uh, like a house plant, more or less. I breathe, I eat, I don't do much of anything. It's a 3-day weekend in Italy, so it's been a. I will be forced to exit the torpor tomorrow morning, like all the accursed Mondays. What are you doing?
Uh,
Nobody asked you that, do they?
no, they don't. No, they
Are,
don't.
are
Uh,
you cozy? Are you cold? How's the weather?
it's okay. It's not too hot, not too cold right now. Kind of like a nice. It's almost like a fall day, even though, well, technically it's not winter yet, right? Because we've not hit the solstice. But yeah, it's just kind of a cool day.
No, that's good, no?
Yeah.
So it's always it's the little things, the pleasures that make your life a little bit better.
Well,
Mm, okay.
speaking of pleasures, my friend, do you want to tell me about your GamerGate experience?
The that wasn't well, there isn't a lot I haven't said already. I was a fairly regular lurker on the for chance V board at the time. I was present when the Gamergate incident happened. I was following the thread and having a laugh as usual, and then it turned out to be a little bigger than we could have imagined. The more it got, the bigger it got, the more it got, the more people actually got involved. And I saw the discussion going on in a lot of directions. I felt that putting that putting the discussion a bit more on the ethics in journalism thing was more interesting. So I started a series of since what I can do is what I could do at the time was mostly graphic design. I was starting on web development, but mostly I was doing brochures and the sort of stuff. I did some images with some information about past scandals and connected them with the present gaming scandals, so that for instance you remembered about GameSpot firing Jeff Gerstmann, about the various previous scandals, and the few articles about a few infographics about conflicts of interest and so forth. They are now on DeepFreeze.it. They are what has become the article section, and that was meant to be easily spreadable and to help out the discussion that often was going after Twitter celebrities and nobodies and whatnot, into what I thought was more useful and more and could have a more lasting impact. Eventually that Scott Campbell, seem to remember that's a name. It's been a while since I've been on Twitter. Have I mentioned that yet?
Only off air. Only off air you mentioned it.
Only of Yeah, but it's meant to be a joke because people are well aware that I am. I've retreated inside my hermit. Is there a word in English? Hermitage? The place where the hermit lives?
Ah, yes, yes.
Yeah, that place.
Like Yoda
Uh,
on Dagobah.
yeah, I'm on that planet with the swamp and all. Except there is less swamp and more fog because northern Italy. Where was I? Yes, I was making these infographs. I was doing train my early social media days with making mistakes because I had never done that before and I wasn't particularly young at the time either. And eventually, Campbell had this idea of the cataloging uh, cataloging everything that the journalists that had the less ethics that had been found during the events following the GamerGate scandals, the series of scandals that makes up GamerGate. Campbell suggested cataloging the journalistic misdeeds and journalistic under and filing them together in he suggested an hashtag DeepFreeze where like 3 people tweeted. I was one of the people who tweeted there because I thought it was a good idea. And then I eventually suggested on the GamerGate thread. At that point it had moved on Infinite Chan.
So there was an open freeze hashtag prior to deep freeze, you said?
DeepFreeze, yeah. DeepFreeze it was the name of the hashtag.
Optic
I
freeze?
seem to recall if you read Campbell's tweets from the time, he was very clear about what happened. The original idea of the reason the site is called DeepFreeze and not something else is because Campbell Oliver was it Oliver Campbell? I think I misnamed it all the bloody day. Oliver Campbell. I'm pretty sure. It's been so long that I forget the names. Yep. Okay. I don't know if he's on Twitter anymore, probably. He's on Twitter. He has a hard hat on his head, apparently.
He has me blocked on Twitter.
Oliver Campbell is he still follows me. What the trust or what inertia? I was saying I apologize for forgetting names. I am Scott Campbell. There's a Scott Campbell somewhere. Whatever. Oliver Campbell was the one who came up with the idea of cataloging journalists, and the reason the site is called DeepFreeze and not something else is because he called that idea DeepFreeze. And when I mentioned originally if you go and look at my original post on Infinite Chan, you will see that I explicitly mentioned the Operation DeepFreeze as something that I wanted to pick back up. When I said we could make a website where we could make a website where we catalog these things. The idea got an incredible amount of traction, and this was the start of the absurd amount of support I received through all my experience as the developer, maintainer of this crazy idea. And I went for it and made a website that tried to had its pros and its cons, but had some things that were, but did set itself up to do something challenging and present information in a very simplified way, which was allow people to get as much information as possible and as much information and as much but get the information synthesized as much as possible and in easy to read, easy to digest little chunks that could be easily individually verified but also were turned into a number. We have 3 entries, 4 entries. The 3 dishonesties. I should stop drinking. I'm not used to being interviewed.
No, you're fine.
And so the website launched. On retrospect, several mistakes were made. I should have thought about the data more before I started processing it. was not an experienced developer at the time. The website started off with this idea of making the journalist sheets first, which was pretty abysmal. It was successful. People liked it, liked the idea. Wow, you can look at this journalist page and see they have 30 emblems, 4 emblems, and no, but it's very clumsy because technically the outlet is responsible for the article, not the journalist. The journalist, I can read an outlet every day, and I have no idea what the journalist names are. Also, the clumsy way DeepFreeze presented information at the start did not allow for corrections, for instance. So if you have at any point made anything, it's written down there, even though there are it waits 1 point, even if you have made a correction. So they're all worth the same.
I do want to ask though.
Yes.
You say that the outlet is what matters and their reputation, not the reputation of the journalists. Doesn't both matter?
Depends. That's a mistake I made when I started the first journalist that is filed. You can check that by watching any journalist page and looking at the if you click on the entries at some point somewhere in the entry. I don't remember. It's been a while since I went into, but if you click on individual entries, you will see their number, and then you will see when they were filed. The first journalist I put in were Patrick Klepek. He was the first. I picked him at random. The second was Like Alexander, who I suspected to be the person with the highest number of entries I would have to file to see if the layout broke after a certain number of entries. Like Alexander remained the person with the highest number of emblems for a very long time, to the point that I have joked several times that I thought DeepFreeze was a blog. And then I put in a journalist that I assumed to be in the middle between Klepek's low number of entries and which was Jason Schreier. Jason Schreier, though, is probably one of the top 5 journalists I have on the website. And Klepek, with his 3 emblems, was already fairly high. Most journalists I had in had only 1 emblem or 2. So it was not really much of an information. Yes, if you speak about these names, I still remember them after all this time. Even after forgetting Oliver Campbell's name, when he tweeted, I used to make infographics of his tweets. Imagine now, and I forgot. I still remember the name of but most journalists are not stars. They're not people. If you go on Game, if this is not meant to be a vengeance project to show you to just crucify the journalist that it's meant to be. It was intended to be an outlet for to allow people to get information, to help them see things. We've all been used to saying GamerGate is all about harassment. It's an hate group, which is twice wrong, because it's not an hate group, but it's not even a group. It's an hashtag used to discuss a series of scandals. So it's not that I'm not responsible for what Tachyon Blue does on his YouTube channel. Tachyon Blue is not responsible for what I say on Twitter, or whoever has tweeted on the hashtag. I don't have to justify what. Since anyone can use the hashtag, it's not. It's twice wrong. But
yes, I'll ask you. Oh, sorry. I'll let you finish your point.
Okay. The point is that I was in that climate trying to put an order to things and trying to give. To put information in one place. You say that here are the ethical complaints, here are the conflicts of interest. There are several conflicts. This journalist has 7 conflicts of interest, not just one. The original first GamerGate story that was passed by all outlets was that GamerGate was angry about which was misleading, because GamerGate is not angry. GamerGate is an hashtag. They said GamerGate is angry because journalists slept with a no. But then he was not even sleeping with her when they made the article. No, it first of all, you have not read the article because it's an hagiography of a person when talking about something completely different. Second of all, the journalist in question, Nathan Grayson, has 11 entries for conflicts of interest of various kinds. Third, the person that he talked about was talked about by friends that was lifted up by friends so many times that I accidentally found 5 more conflicts of interest regarding her when I was researching Crash Override, I think I remember. When I researched when the Clash Override logs came out and the scam people victims of harassment helping campaign that was set up by literally who, and at the time I discovered accidentally 5 conflicts of interest from people covering her. I have an article on my WordPress.
Well, yeah, we can get into that and we can talk about that. But first, I just want to go back
apologize.
to.
I ramble.
I do think no, you're totally cool. I do think that, or we can try to be a little bit more precise, I guess. But it's there's a language barrier, so I completely understand.
One last thing. Also, they say, but they weren't sleeping together yet. If you go looking at the entry, they were friends much before they started. The entry shows that they were friends before. On the entry of DeepFreeze, thanks to Boogie Pop Robin's research, show that they were friends enough to hang out together when Grayson was still at rock paper shotgun. So
yeah,
they were. What they did in bed.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, you're right. The timeline does show that at least for the second and third article that he wrote, they definitely had a close personal friendship to say the least, and that definitely should have been disclosed for the second and third articles. The first article that might have been before their relationship, I don't know officially. I think it might have been before, but the big 2 articles that he did promoting her stuff. Well, 1 promoting her stuff and 2 reporting her side of the story on this game jam that failed, the Polaris game jam. Anyway, I do want to talk about. I do think your decision to not just show the individual outlets, but also to show the games journalists themselves and how many conflicts of interest each individual games journalist has, I think that was actually the right move. I know that you got a little bit of criticism about that, saying like, you don't want the perception to be, that you're trying to like put vengeance out against the games journalists. I completely understand your desire not to have that perception of you out there or of your website and your project that you put so much effort into. But I think it actually was important, and it has helped me, and it's helped other people too, discover these conflicts of interest so that we can talk about them in because it's historical information. It's all public information, and it's important too that we hold these people accountable. And that doesn't mean like we're we should put them on there so that they because we don't like these people. No, no, of course not at all. We should put them on there, and also the corrections that they do, and when they own up to their mistakes, so that the audience, the consumer, has an informed expectation. Like, okay, I know Kotaku's got like a bad reputation, but what about this specific writer? Does this specific writer do a good job as a general matter? And it's like, okay, this specific writer, they got one mistake from 4 years ago. They corrected it. They apologized. Seems like I can probably trust this person. It's at least not completely a dishonest piece of shit. Whereas, like, I go into Leigh Alexander's article or whatever it happens to be, some random person, just pick anybody, and it's like, wow, this person's got like 35 conflicts of interest that they never disclosed. They've when confronted about this conflict of interest, they said that everyone that but they openly said that they promote the work of their friends and they don't care and they don't think it's a big deal. Well, maybe I shouldn't take this person's recommendation of games all that seriously anymore because it seems like they're not very honest and they're kind of even upfront about the fact that they promote the work of their friends even though they don't ever disclose any of this in the actual articles. So we just have to like assume like, oh, well, she promoted this person's game. Did they do it because they were her friend, or did they do it just because it was a good game? But we'll never know because she says that she does both, and she thinks that it's good for her to promote her friend's work. So we'd have to like think about. I think it gives the audience and the consumer information that's useful.
Well, you say that the I don't want the perception of that's a I'd like to correct you. I don't give a. Do you get problems? Do you have to remove all the swears? Because you're in for a funny evening if you have problems with the swears. I say I don't give a flying fuck about the reputation, about the allegations that I am making a witch list, witch hunt, that putting the picture that the journalist publicly shared on is not. I have always looked for the most flattering pictures, which has been a challenge in some cases. And I have because some of those gaming journalists really love making funny faces or getting pictures in the twilight, but I digress. I don't really care what matters to me is that information is presented properly, and I don't think that the journalist's first approach was a good idea. The original layout of I understand why it was successful. I understand why it was criticized. But it is quite correct to say. But I really don't think that how DeepFreeze filed the entries originally. I made a lot of updates through the years. DeepFreeze originally didn't even allow you to file an entry by outlet, so you couldn't, for instance, tag an outlet for something that happened at a certain. For a decision. I seem to recall that the Justman case, for instance, when Justman was filed by GameSpot, I couldn't even file that because I couldn't file it to GameSpot. I keep confusing it with the shop, the GameSpot. I couldn't file anything to GameSpot. I had to file it to. Instead I until I did, and if a journalist started working for a certain outlet, you'd go to that outlet's page and. You would see that the outlet has you would see that to go to the outlets page and you would see several entries on the outlet that were things that were published on the other outlet where the journalist worked before. So, for instance, I don't remember, there was one small outlet that had two entries because there was the place where a journalist that had made two scandalous articles had gone to work after working at, I think, Kotaku. Kotaku is the one who published the scandalistic articles. I don't remember what outlet. It was another outlet, but which was kind of silly. That kind of thing is not okay. And I think that the journalist filing is actually detrimental for a lot of other reasons. For instance, something I noticed that I think is very important is the amount of corrections. DeepFreeze struggled and painfully and carefully tried to, with all the mistakes they made. For instance, you noted, yes, this journalist has only one mistake. You're assuming that DeepFreeze has a complete coverage of every journalist. They are not. They don't. They follow mostly journalists who had scandals already. So when GamerGate was when there was all that happened with GamerGate, Kotaku was very heavily scrutinized. But Kotaku is not necessarily the worst. It's the one who got scrutinized the most. If you went and looked with the same eye on, I don't know, IGN, maybe you would have found more things.
Right. Well, and you were honest about that too. I don't know if it originally said this on the website,
No,
but now it does say on the website. It does say some of these websites may be subject to what is it called?
More scrutiny, yes.
Asymmetric scrutiny, or to greater
That's
scrutiny
correct.
because of their involvement in other scandals, or because of their connection with the GamerGate thing in some way. You
Yeah,
do put that on there too, to
I
disclaim
did
that.
do that, but that doesn't excuse the fact that the outlet is the game DeepFreeze is not a complete analysis. So, for instance, I appreciate the fact that in the last update I made, I put the outlets first, and the new outlets page, for instance, the newest, because it's 2017, I think, but the newest outlet page has statistics for the correction. So if you go and look, for instance, at Kotaku, Kotaku actually has more corrections, more times when they say, yes, when they added the disclosure, or than the average outlet on the DeepFreeze. Some outlets have a 100% correction rate. For instance, if you go, I think I remember Rock Paper Shotgun, for instance, has a 0 correction. They have less entries because they were less radically scrutinized, but they do have. Also, a lot of entries were there were a lot of filing issues that I think were. On the other hand, the crux of the story is that DeepFreeze was extremely successful. It pissed off a lot of people, of the people that you feel right to piss off. It means you're honored to piss off. It made a lot of. I received an obscene amount of support. People designing and drawing mascots for my. People thanking me 100 times, and I was really proud of having been so well received. I feel still undeserving of all the. But
Yeah, and I donated like $5 to support the project too. Now this
I
was like
know
10 years ago, but like I did donate $5, I think, or something like that.
I still
Their
feel ashamed for asking
to.
money for that.
Well, I think
I
it was
should.
a good idea. I just wish more people would have given money, and that you would have
The,
updated it more. But it is what it is.
that the problem there was not the amount of donations. The problem was very simply that the whole thing that was something came at a bad time in my life. Essentially, I've briefly touched on it. It's it's not something that my online persona is not concerned with what happens to the human being currently talking on the microphone. But the long and short of it is that I was convinced by a relative to make a certain operation that was going to be fruitful on the long term, but which tied me financially with this relative that I trusted at the time. The relative, as soon as I have made the signatures, basically put me in, basically took advantage of the situation by trying to make me do things in a war that he started with other people. And I am basically was hoping to have me on his side because I was. They had me by the financial balls at the time. I did the hard decision and stuck to my principles, which on the long run paid off. I'm better off today because I made that decision. But that meant that for the short term, I was in a very difficult financial situation, and so I had to take on extra work. That was the thing that killed DeepFreeze eventually. I tried to juggle all the DeepFreeze was always competing with my 2 jobs I had at the time, plus, and then I had to add the freelance job on top of it, and it was really hard to keep up. DeepFreeze was troublesome because it required a very strict commitment, because it was structurally unable to accept contribution by anyone except myself. So I had to veto everything. I had to check everything. I had to research most of the entries myself. The last, if I only had to do, I don't know, the investigation part, the freeze was run by somebody else, and I only had to find out the conflict of interest and send them to whoever was running the show, I would have easily, I would have been able to keep it up. I wouldn't have required, but DeepFreeze literally couldn't do anything, couldn't update, couldn't do anything without me. So, and I have not managed, I tried very hard in the last time to make it viable for people to send entries, to send information directly there, to contribute, to make it possible for other people to handle it. I never got to that point, sadly, and when I had to basically detach the what's the expression in, is there an expression in English, to get off, to not, by the time my situation improved and I could get back on, I had a lot of time had passed, a lot of the situation had changed. I feel that today the journalism has significantly shown the change of the change that came after we see today a lot more of the information is a lot more outlets are not seen as very reliable. A lot more information is coming from think tanks, anonymous people on social media. I think the very interesting aspect of, for instance, of the conflict in Ukraine right now is that some of the most reliable sources of information are soldiers posting on Telegram directly from the front. One Twitter account that is simply counting the vehicles that are lost by either of the sides, and even gaming YouTubers that have turned into military analysts and make better content than official news outlets. So, which are a lot of times feel like they are a little bit behind.
Well, I do have to ask, Bonegolem, do you
Yes.
view DeepFreeze as being a historical project, or is this something that you could see yourself getting back into at some point and starting to continue the work on?
Honestly, when you mentioned the website before, I was thinking you were speaking about it as something present. I don't see myself picking it back up. The time for it has passed, basically. At this point, what's the point in saying what gaming outlet is more ethical, less ethical? They're all failing institution. They have been essentially supplanted by. Well, they're barely there.
Well,
they're not really that.
I do think that there is potentially still a market, or still a desire. I don't know about a market, but there's still a desire in society for there to be good text-based games journalism. And like, if there is one outlet or two outlets out there, I don't think there are. I haven't found them yet. But if there are like one or two outlets that are like super high quality, do really amazing work, have a really strict set of ethics, and are like people with integrity. I've never encountered these people in games journalism, but like, I want people like that to exist in games journalism, and I think that there is a desire for this. But I'm not sure how we're going to get that. It's so difficult. And how do you know?
Well, I would love to say to agree with that, but I don't. Right now, there was a journalist that I had a conversation with. I believe they wish to remain anonymous, but there was a journalist that was often was very polite to me, very pleasant. But they asked me, go look at. Do you even read articles from my website? Go look at it. Go look at it when you and read them, and don't only look at the scandals. Only look at the. So I did exactly that. I read exactly 2 articles since then, because 2 times in my life I felt like reading an article on I watch. I am subscribed to something like 7 or 8 channels that talk about games. I play games regularly on the Switch, on the PC, I've been playing games since I was, and I learned English on game guides. I had I was when I was very young, I was sold a Nintendo NES and a collection of guides that contained information about that they were all in English. They were sold that from acquaintances in America. It was a nightmare to make that thing run here with our electricity, and I learned English on those things. I spent my little budget when I was young buying the Games Machine, the leading Italian journalism, think EGM, think that sort of what's the name? Brochure? No, brochure. That sort of magazine. That sort of magazine. I loved it. I went back and read everything. I read all about all these games that I can still quote you the name of the, and I can't get there. It's not, and it's something that already has a terrible reputation. You no longer see people saying this game has bad reviews. They go and look at the Steam reviews. They go look at the Metacritic, which has the audience score. They don't, and the games journalists that do their job well, which are there, very much are there, because the fact that we concentrate more on the mistakes that were made in the twilight years of the. When speaking with Total Biscuit, Jason Schreier, who is a person I absolutely despise and I would never agree with that guy, said something like, in 5 years, game journalism like there is today is not going to exist anymore. He said that on Total Biscuit's interview, so you know that Total Biscuit was still alive. It's been a pretty long time. I agreed with that then, and I agree with that now. I think that the ship has sunk. If DeepFreeze had been maintained at the time, if I had kept it running up properly and made it, and I quit updating DeepFreeze in 2017, keeping steady updates would have meant that I would have managed to get to the point where I wanted to get, which was mainstream media, in time for the American presidential election of 2020. You remember that, right? All the controversy, all the fake news here and there, and that could have been something at the time. Right now, it's past the time. The DeepFreeze has. I feel when I look back, I am still incredibly happy about the outcome, about the incredible support I received. I'm happy with what it did to my skills as a designer and I am still very proud of the time when I don't know if you're familiar with that, but DeepFreeze at a certain point was attacked by DDoS, the distributed denial of service attacks. Yes.
Yeah, I am. And then
Okay.
I'll let you do your DDoS story, but I've got a story too about DeepFreeze. I actually was one of the people promoting it. I did Operation Icy Blizzard, this super small thing. It was I was trying to get people to tweet out hashtag Icy Blizzard to promote DeepFreeze, and I created a thunderclap even, which no one used. No one used the thunderclap really. I just like DM'd a whole bunch of people at random, like people I didn't even know. And was like, hey, there's this awesome new this website. For keeping track of games journalism ethics. Do you want to promote this as part of hashtag Operation hashtag Icy Blizzard? And I was just like, so I tried to get people to tweet about it and promote DeepFreeze. Yeah.
Yeah, and we do a lot of
It
people.
wasn't really
I
a
got
successful operation. I mean, people did it, but like it wasn't like I don't think it was like groundbreaking stuff,
but
that I did this.
the amount you have no idea how much love, how much how many pleasant messages. Still today, I still get people who tell me who talk to me like I'm somebody special, with deference. I got my share of 8 messages. I have not always been the best with them because I was very inexperienced, but it was really something. I'm happy about what it taught me about the organizing data, about that. I got better at that later in my career, but I think that DeepFreeze succeeded in as a what's the name? The place where you go in front of a shop and in front at the front of the shop when you go with the shop window. It succeeded as a showcase of the grievances of people that were posting on the GamerGate hashtag. It succeeded at showing no, it's not about. It's about anything about what you wanted it to be. These are the scandals. These are the controversy. These are the journalistic the breaches of journalistic integrity. Go look at DeepFreeze.it. In that, it succeeded very well, and that is what. And as that, it was a successful project, and it was and it did what it needed to do, and it probably would have gone even better if I hadn't stopped working on it. What it didn't do, I think, properly, it was being a proper journalistic watchdog. A lot of times people told me go cover this, and I said I can't because it's not mainstream media. Right now, if I cover mainstream media, I would be making an exception. It's a lot of times it is not complete. It is not. A lot of people are there just because they were in the middle of a scandal, but were not, or were researched deliberately because people were angry at them. If I had gone on at the time, or had managed to put in some, I had basically only one collaborator who did a lot of work, and I believe continued to do work after I finished on his own, on their own. But most, I feel that the website could have been a little bit better, but I think that it had too much. That amount of information is difficult to present and to maintain and to keep up in a proper way.
Yeah.
It
Well,
had,
I just want to say though, I think that you did a pretty good job. A lot of the GamerGate people I've talked to think you've done a pretty good job. The fact is, DeepFreeze, your project here, it is something historical. I think it's something. It's GamerGate people. Well, I guess you, and with the help of a few other people, um, built this incredible resource, and even everyone knows about it, right? This isn't some obscure thing. This is something where, like, if anybody who's touched the Gamergate stuff, even like a tiny amount, is aware of Deep Freeze, or well, that's probably not true. That statement's probably false. But what probably is true is that most of the people who like dedicated some amount of time or interest to this thing, um, some significant amount of time or interest, are aware of your project. And even some of the anti-Gamergate people, though they have a couple quibbles around the edges, even they, I think, are like pretty positive actually about your project. And I've asked them about it.
the anti-GamerGate people. That's interesting. I have not. I have talked to. That is something that really irked me at the time, and that the fact that there was no, there was this felt like a war. That was something that I really did not understand. People online were trying to kill, to destroy each other, to really. They really hope that there were people that were watching your account and simply took you out of context. Look, GamerGate said this. It was so. Whereas I didn't understand. How do you even disagree like that? How do you not Okay, I think that, but slightly less. That I when I made my article on my article on not the article before DeepFreeze, the infograph about harassment surrounding the harassment controversies. I literally went to anti-GamerGate figureheads and asked, can you give me can you give me a resource like that? There was a resource, I believe it was done by Jen. There was a resource where the harassment of people supporting the GamerGate hashtag was posted. People that were doxxed, the people that were to show that it was put together to say we were harassed too. And I went, is there something like that? And I got blocked. It was really something that later on American politics all became like that. So there was a bit more of an explanation, but it was really a bit of a. I'm happy to hear that I was the exception. A lot of times I've seen people that despised each other, hated everything, and how that both supported DeepFreeze on the because the people that posted on the GamerGate hashtag did not always agree.
That's true.
I remember one Gigi Revolt.
Go ahead.
I remember something that really. I'm not very squeamish, okay? I watch horror, I'm famously very tough. One of the things that really disturbed me when I saw it was when I examined the crash override logs. As I said, I researched those. You know? And I remember distinctly, at a certain point while reading those, there's a section where I am Miles Chong enters the chat and talks about his pipe. I think I remember that. He talks about smoking. Some people, I think, remember, it's barely anything he said. But I remember that distinctly. Because that time, that thing was only time I saw that crash override logs saying something human. They're not. I don't think they're edited. I don't think somebody took out parts, but they are all a continuous stream of hatred, anger. I don't know how
yeah. Well, hey,
things can get like that.
What do you think was the most damning thing you saw in the crash override network logs?
They should be read into logs. The primary thing about the crash. I think that the whole the most horrible thing that is not so much something that was said. There were several things that were really horrible. You could really tell the continuous. These guys should be fired. These guys are all horrible. But the thing that really damns it is the fact that they are the crash override logs. Crash override was let's remember that the crash override was an allegedly anti-harassment resource set to protect victims of harassment, headed by somebody who went and talked at the United Nations. We do remember that, don't we?
Yes, and then they were doxing people in their chat room.
And they were people.
Well, that's in the Airplay documentary. Yeah, that's in the Airplay documentary.
There was people being angry and being. There was nothing about protection. It was something to. It was probably, I would assume, a tool to get funding, to get relevance, and to get and to possibly maybe get some information about harassment to further a certain narrative at best. But the fact that it was a scam was what really destroyed it. I mean, if you see me. If I inform you right now about the fact that I watch porn in my computer, you would probably not be particularly moved. But if I told you that I do that at my job, that's a different thing. You understand, right? They were looking at they were doing this thing where they shouldn't have. There's a very, I think that's what really, and again, what it's not scandalous. It's not by itself. I did find some. I think that, again, there's the article on my WordPress that said that talks about it. There are articles, but the really that doesn't convey the dread of what I still remember that.
Yeah, well, hey,
The continuous, if you go and look at my, I read recently the chat log of my D&D group when I was running the campaign I ran between 2016 and 2020. I went and looked at all the jokes. It was a complete series of jokes. There was memes being shared. There was mocking people because they weren't showing up. There was people editing each other's messages to mock each other. There was everything. You don't make a group and only talk about hate. You went on the GamerGate thread at the time. I don't even know if they are still making it on Infinite Chan.
They are actually. There's still a GamerGate mega thread that's still active.
Yeah,
it's not
people,
super active, not like it used to be. And most of the people just joke. They just post memes. They don't really do anything.
Yeah, that's the fact. That's a bloody point. You understand that. Go look at the Crash Override logs then. For instance, I have they're hopefully archived. I've seen that you said before the going online that DeepFreeze has a lot of problems, but one thing I was saying before that is very hard to maintain. Not just the fact that every once in a while somebody would inform me, you know that the journalist change job. How annoying it is to have to change the job of a journalist. That nobody cares where he's writing right now. I shouldn't have included that information. But also the whole website is an insane series of broken links right now. I just noticed that One Angry Gamer links are all broken right now because One Angry Gamer has been sold a while back, and now they redirect to. I have archived every single link I put on DeepFreeze, so if you see a link on DeepFreeze that doesn't work, you can go to the archive and find it. But I don't really feel like going through all the archive right now and editing entry by entry, hundreds of entries, trying to look for every single link and replace it with the archive that I hopefully have made. You get it, right? It's a bit of a thing.
Let's be a little critical, okay? So you mentioned One Angry Gamer. Now, one thing that DeepFreeze does do, or did do back in the day, is that it lists whether or not a website is supported by GamerGate or boycotted by GamerGate. This is something that you do on the site. Why did you make that decision, and what goes into determining what websites are boycotted or supported?
First of all, that was a terrible idea, and I think I should have removed that part. Right now, we're still advertising One Angry Gamer, which is broken. The Escapist, who is which at the time, which was where the then which had taken a very different turn at the time, and now has been completely dismantled. Essentially, now that the whole video team has left and started their own thing. But what? I haven't fallen, have I?
No, you're still here. I can hear you.
Okay. Somebody else is chatting. Okay.
I was sending you a message about one of the. It's not important. Go ahead.
Okay. No problem. It was just I thought I'm terrified that eventually I will fall down and I will continue rambling in the void for a while. Where was I? Yes, the supported outlets. The idea that was stupid was that DeepFreeze would have. The good idea is listing what outlets have been strongly involved in GamerGate. because again, that is one indicator that the outlet could be subject to asymmetric scrutiny, and thus might be not. It may be receiving more entries and more looks than a website that is not involved. The idea of the way I picked the outlets that were supported or boycotted was also a very good idea, because I simply took something like 6 or 7 lists that had supported and boycotted outlets. I saw which ones appeared more times, and I put those in. Simple as. I did not make any decision in that process. DeepFreeze was striving as much as possible to follow rules and proceedings and be as neutral as possible. So that also worked. The stupid idea is that DeepFreeze decided it was a stupid idea. I know it now, but at the time, that I will get behind the support, and I will simply list so the DeepFreeze says somewhere that outlets supported by GamerGate and DeepFreeze, and outlets boycotted by GamerGate, something like that. DeepFreeze gets behind and that is foolish, because first of all, it's very confusing. Second, it is again, there's an endorsement that should not be there, because it's not part of it's not part of what DeepFreeze was supposed to do.
Hey, actually, I just wanted to say I'm actually kind of excited because I went through the list. Hashtag Icy Blizzard. Quite a few people did actually support Icy Blizzard. This was tweeted out by quite a few people. I guess it was a real thing. It really was a real thing that I got going.
Yeah,
I kind of downplayed it in recent years because like it's literally just a hashtag I created. But like,
I created a new record that I go on some websites so rarely that they change the website and they call it something different.
yeah, there was this whole thing I did where I wanted to so with Icy Blizzard, what I wanted to do, and this was like 10 years ago, is I wanted people, I wanted to create conversations about not just promote DeepFreeze, but I wanted to create conversations about ethics in games journalism with people who are not familiar with it. So here's what here's like the general format I asked people to do. Hashtag gaming journalism has a corruption problem. Ask me why I stand for ethics. Hashtag Icy Blizzard. That's how but people could change it. So different people did different things. It wasn't just people tweeting that out. People tweeted other stuff out too. But it's like, yeah, it's like hashtag gaming journalism has a corruption problem. Ask me why I stand for ethics. That way, people's audiences and people who aren't familiar with Gamergate can ask questions and learn more about the corruption in games journalism. It was a really cool thing I did back then. I didn't even.
I see that.
Yeah.
I love that there is there's the hat too. I had posting there. There's some guy called Freedom of Tits and Weights. There's a parody account that is really not funny and has like 8 followers. Haha. And two are my followers, so must have been.
All right. Well, hey.
There's a guy posting the beautiful. There's one Jeremy Simpson who has posted the beautiful DeepFreeze 10 that somebody just put a Japanese school uniform on top of the DeepFreeze logo. It's amazing. The DeepFreeze logo, which is I simply made the logo just to try and use one of the angels from Evangelion. I traced it, and then I simply used that as a logo because whatever. And I remember best mom ever, Mombot, that when she went and took the logo to make the fan art for that I still have on I think I still have it on my background, my profile on Twitter. She made she went and noticed that the name of the logo on the freeze.it was Ramiel was Ramiel, literally. Yes, I still have it as a background. Beautiful work. Okay.
All right, so hey, let's get to the
It's
interview question list because we
the
do want to get through this. I know.
I apologize.
Well, you want
It's hard to true things with me because I ramble. I just like the art.
Well, I do
But,
like I do like the DeepFreeze logo. I do like a lot of stuff like that. Do you want to talk
you like
about
plagiarism then?
So Daniela and Freya? These are two characters. I don't know if you created them or if other people created them, but
Absolutely not.
they're like the mascots of DeepFreeze. So what's the story behind Daniela and Freya?
Danielle. It's simply that again I received an inordinate amount of support. I loved it. It was amazing. It was and um, it was decided that and one thing that they decided to do on the crazy people on the GamerGate on the GamerGate thread on V decided to do this amazing gift that was designing a mascot for the Freeze, and I was delighted with the idea and uh, the original the Freeze Tan, the Freeze was made by Mombot, and it was a lady with blue hair, an outfit that was an Ushanka. She was wearing an Ushanka, and had a big winter coat that was also and was wearing a bikini under it. I remember that, and people. I was amazed, so happy about it, and then eventually the fans were a bit divided on how the character was supposed to look like, and they eventually decided to make two characters, which were Daniele and Freya for DeepFreeze, DF. Which both took some aspects from and there was an incredible amount of beautiful art made for those characters. Part of the guilt I feel about abandoning the freeze is the fact that they probably slow down the art and then I still have. If you see my profile on Discord, I still use their art as my profile anywhere I go. I have these. I'm still so struck by the love that it was really a great experience. When I made, if you look at some of the latest conflicts of interest that DeepFreeze covered, I have the at this point it's been quite a long time, so I think I can stop hiding the secret. But if you go look at some of the most recent entries in DeepFreeze that I researched myself, you will see that they are credited to me and Freya. Freya is not a DeepFreeze contributor. It was the application I wrote, the script I wrote to find out to scrape information from Twitter. So I named the application because the canon is that Freya finds the conflicts of interest and Danielle catalogs them. So I named the application that helps me doing that. I named it Freya, and then I bolstered that. Why is your wife not real? Why haven't you made your wife real? To people, and
So Freya researches it and Daniela promotes it.
Danielle
catalogs it.
5.
Catalogs.
That's the canon.
Okay.
I mean, part of the canon is a lot of porn, but I don't know if you have.
Well, I've seen some of it.
I,
No
maybe,
comment. No comment.
there, I remember. I have an art somewhere of Danielle scandalized because she saw the porn, and I think there was a lot more porn of Danielle. Which is kind of weird because she's basically me tan Danielle, being the one that archives things. Anyway, whatever. Well, there's a. I can be proud of that. Ah, God, I haven't been on Twitter on so long. Is it still as horrible as it used to be so many years ago, or has it gotten better?
Has what gotten better?
Twitter.
It's worse.
Meant to be a
Well, I don't
rhetorical
know.
question.
Like, it's worse for what I use it for because, like, I don't have like. I guess I do have a community on Twitter. Like, I've got a couple different communities I'm in, right? Like, I'm in like the what's left of the GamerGate sphere, which is basically nothing, and then I'm also, other than like a bunch of people I follow, but they don't talk about this specific topic anymore. Um, and then I'm in the Twitch poll sphere, the politics YouTube sphere, like the DGG sphere, I guess you can call it. I'm in that world, but like I don't know, it's not as fun. But like I don't, I don't, I don't know about social media. I mean, like it seems
So,
like Twitter's got a lot of problems. Like, and look, Elon Musk, like he's done some good things. He's done some really stupid things too. So we'll see what happens with it. I have no idea.
I, I don't know. I don't. The one thing I really don't hate Twitter for, but as far as I can tell, is that it still does not delete stuff, so it can still be used as an archive of sorts. So you can look up all the things like we just did. Just went and looked at some old hashtags with you. But really, social media in general makes me. What little I managed to see of Instagram, basically everything disappears after the first, except what you posted the other day. It's and so much of the internet is fenced off now. It's
Well,
really not that. It's really a bit disheartening to see about after all this time.
really, there's only one other critique I hear, and some of the anti-GamerGate people do bring this up. It's
Bring it.
it's a critique of DeepFreeze. It is the sensationalism slash yellow journalism emblem. Some
Yes.
people say that it is subjective whether or not a specific thing is sensationalist because sometimes, well, so let's the journalists are expressing their opinions, right? And sometimes they do this in ways that are inflammatory. And
Mhm.
this is considered a questionable thing by DeepFreeze.
Yes. The it's a critique I've heard a lot. It's not really something that I have been particularly concerned with. I given you a lot of critiques, and if you want me to stay here another hour telling you everything I did wrong, I will be. I don't really
Hey, dude,
find that to be.
I thought we'd go like 4 hours, so like we can go as long as you want, dude. Well, within reason.
Well, I'm joking. I think they're gonna shoot me if I stay here too long.
Okay.
Yeah,
How
but
much time? How much time do you have? Because we haven't even started with the questions yet. Really?
Really?
But no,
Okay,
I do it. I do it
well,
open. How much time? Just so we have like a rough estimate.
vabbè, if there are a lot of questions, I can stay here or whatever. It's I'll tell my buddies that tonight they're gonna be shooting aliens on their own.
No, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
no
no.
problem.
Okay.
No. They can handle it. I'm basically. What's the thing that you put on zeppelins that then you have to ballast? I'm basically ballast.
All
That
right.
weight.
All right. So
Okay,
your
they can do without
sensationalism.
they.
Your
I was
sensationalism
saying
issue.
sensationalism. It's really not yellow. they say it's subjective, and I say yes. It's one of the entries on DeepFreeze that is filed as that explicitly says this is more subjective than others. It is still following criteria that you can read on the rules page that explicitly clarify what constitutes something that DeepFreeze calls yellow journalism or not. While it is very easy to see, for instance, the corruption emblem. The corruption emblem is very clear. You must have received or sent money to the subject of the coverage without disclosing it, unless you have paid for the access to the. You have supported a game on Kickstarter to get the game. To get the game. If you have supported the game on Kickstarter for higher rewards, you are still sanctioned. I think there is one journalist that is sanctioned for that. If you go and look at the yellow journalism, yes, the rules are a little bit more lax, but they are there. They say the article must be notorious for being inflammatory. It must have caused a strong response. It must be, and yellow journalist must be sanctioned. Yes, there is the control. I remember writing an incredibly long story about the one bad review of I don't remember what game. There was a game that was reviewed on Polygon and got a bad score, and people thought that it was. If you go and read that interview, it's basically there's a lot of parts that are talking about those themes that are nauseatingly often brought up. Still about. I don't remember what they said. Something that I don't. It was. Yes, it is possible that the journalist that made this interview, that this review was sincere, but the impression you get by the fact that, but the free does not take that stance that it is a sensationalist review because it is. Gotta find that one. Hold on. The freeze journalist page is broken, but it's not not all the other pages. So if you go by rules, sensationalism is very clear. Despite being shorthand for, I'm not gonna read the entry, but it says it very clearly. Small mistakes or a little flare are not deemed to be serious liability concern. The freeze aims to file only the most visible and significant examples of yellow journalism, making this a category somewhat more reliant on human agency. That is, articles that have the highest chances of being selected are those that show poor research or factual inaccuracies, that damage a party without reasonable proof of guilt, or that are widely quoted as examples of clickbait. The interview was it was not an interview, it was a review.
Okay, so
the review of Witcher 3 by Polygon. Spent a large chunk of his Witcher 3 interview, Arthur Giles, Polygon editor at the time. For what I know, he's working as anything else right now. Bayonetta 2, I think it was Bayonetta 2 the one.
So I have an example here. Jason Schreier's article on Kotaku. Game developers need to stop letting teenage boys design their characters. This was Jason Schreier, according to DeepFreeze, Jason Schreier, in his article on Kotaku. Game developers really need to stop letting teenage boys design their characters. DeepFreeze classifies this as a form of sensationalism. Because he refers to the artist, as a 14-year-old boy, as a teenage boy, and 14-year-old specifically, he calls him. And this obviously wasn't true. He was being a dick on purpose, and he did later apologize to the developer, or to the artist, George Camatina. So I mean, look, I understand why this. This is kind of.
His name George Camitani.
George Camitani, yeah.
Camitani, right?
Yeah, George Camitani.
He's an amazing artist. He's I have one company I absolutely love. What's the name of the game that they made on the Switch? I don't think it's just the Switch, but the game with the giant robots where they made recently. It's fantastic. 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. Beautiful. Every scene in that game, you are quivering at the artwork. Yes. Okay. Inside the moral panic surrounding the game gave Dragon's Crown. Again, that was years before I started DeepFreeze. That was a very famous. If you go and look at the...
I remember. I think I
If you
talked
go and
about
look
it
at
at the
the...
time.
That's a very good example, because if you go and look at the article, if you ask people what are the scandals that you will be informed, you will be told of that. People quote that. Game journalists have act as moral police. Remember when Jason Schreier, they still remember. That's what makes it something that is... I'm following the rules of the DeepFreeze. I'm striving to make the rules and to follow them. I'm thinking not of Schreier, I'm thinking of journalists that... I'm thinking of myself if I wrote. I'm trying to... When I write the rules, I don't write them and edit. I did not write them and edit them trying to catch as many people I hate into them. I try to make them as fair as possible.
Yeah. No,
and
look, what Jason Schreier did was wrong, right? I mean, like, he probably shouldn't have done this. He kind of smeared this guy's reputation, the artist, for no reason.
Let's be clear. Jason Schreier is entitled to his opinion.
Yeah, he is.
Schreier can say DeepFreeze is not sanctioning Schreier's opinion. If Schreier thinks that this is... the point is that if you look at the entry, it's very clear. The inside of the moral panic, I could have possibly phrased it a little better, but eventually he incited a moral panic. But if you go and look, he wrote a longer... he didn't write a tweet saying that he was that he didn't like. He wrote a tweet. He got a response from Kamitani. He wrote an article on Kotaku. The article was fairly balanced, but then he made posts on a forum that were widely distributed and used as an example of this is game journalism. This is the horrible things that game journalism does. Schreier has won. I seem to recall that when the Society for the Ethics of Journalism made award for game journalism eventually.
Kunkel Award.
They made awards for good work in game journalism. That would have been a great base for DeepFreeze to use as positive entries, which is something DeepFreeze never should have. I wanted DeepFreeze to do, but it was hard to do objectively. They gave awards to 3 articles. They gave 3 awards, and they were all articles by Schreier.
I'm joined today with
When I was trying to write an article about, it's an article I never finished, I never made, about I wanted to make an article concerning the response, the criticism of games, and the response to this criticism by comparing Jack Thompson and Anita Sarkeesian. The expectation was that Jack Thompson did this, and this. Anita Sarkeesian did this and this. This is the reaction from journalists, but the first, the reaction of the journalist at the second. I found an article. I looked for articles about Jack Thompson, about the scandals in... I looked for articles about that. The first article I came up with, the best information that was the best that I could use, was an article by Schreier on Kotaku. When I saw that, I despised Schreier. I got blocked by him on Twitter. I gritted my teeth. I went to say, this guy he must have done something. I went and checked every single source on the many sources used in an article. He was spot on everything. An amazing article on the Jack Thompson, on the scandals of on the controversy surrounding shootings that were attributed to gamers. That he's a capable journalist if he wants.
Yeah, I've
and he
seen
was an authoritative, and he was an authoritative source at the time. And he was so seeing him whine like he did in the is not a nobody. It's meaningful.
No,
and
I just this
he's
seems
more.
to be...
If you look at Shai, he's not known for the good. Did you know that he won those 3 awards? Did you know that he wrote? Did you were you thinking of? He's a good journalist that makes mistakes when you think of Schreier, because he's more famous.
A lot
for
of
this
people
kind
say
of
that that's
thing
his reputation, right?
anything.
He's known for both like having some really good work that he's done, and he's known for being absolute dog shit on certain areas too. But and it's interesting because like I've interviewed some games journalists like Roy Kalbeck who worked for TechRaptor, and he was saying that the industry, that basically what they're doing is they're encouraged to just write hundreds and hundreds of articles a year, basically hundreds of articles a year. Most of these articles are going to be filler garbage. 95% of them are just the games journalist basically phoning it in and doing the most basic dumb shit ever. Like his first article on the topic, right? Jason Schreier's first article on Dragon's Dogma is him writing a 1-paragraph article. Literally a 1-paragraph article saying that the game developer is a teenage boy. That's literally his first thing. Now later he goes back and he does like a deep dive, like a second article where he does a like a 20-paragraph thing on the game. But the first article, it's literally just him calling the developer a teenage boy because he doesn't like the sexy female character. Like that's literally it. And like if he made that a tweet, if he's like, "Oh man, this character's like a 14-year-old boy," that'd be like one thing. If he liked to comment on a YouTube video, but like he's supposed to be a professional journalist, and the fact that he's also, as a professional journalist, writing a 1-paragraph article basically just to insult this game developer and the artist who made the game. It's really stupid. He shouldn't be doing that. I understand. I think that probably should be put on DeepFreeze. I don't know.
Do you want? Do you want to be? Do you want me to be even more? To tell you something even worse. That article by 6 lines that you mentioned, that the developer is a 14-year-old boy, is more substantial than the average game journalism article, because most articles are, "This guy tweeted this." We are the article. You look for something like Bloodborne 2 release date. So we don't know what you see a long article. We don't know what when the release date for Bloodborne 2 will be. There may never be, just to check on the hashtag. You see people telling you that there has been a tweet by the game developer. It's already at least posing an opinion. DeepFreeze is not filing the fact that Schreier has a differing opinion, the fact that the author of DeepFreeze is not personally very fond of Schreier. Is filing the fact that if you talk about scandal mongering, if you say scandal mongering gaming journalists, you will find this article by Schreier. You will find this story of Schreier's confrontation with Kamitani, and you will, and if you go and look at the details of the controversy, it's not about a tweet. You will see that there is an history there. That's what DeepFreeze did. When you go look at all articles that are in that series, in that where the bloody hell is non-journalist? Where is there a non-journalist? Okay, there's some non-journalist that has been. That could be the one that causes the problem with the journalist page. Anyway, if you go and look at any entry, that's what you will see. This article, Arthur Giles, Bayonetta 2 interview. His infamous Bayonetta 2 review that gave the game a strong penalty for its blatant over-sexualization has sparked significant controversy. 4 links to different articles giving controversy, which may be manufactured. the two links are
All right. Well, hey, I'm starting.
are to people claiming that it could be manufactured. So that's how it works. I'm sorry. Let's make it synthetic because I am thinking in my head of the people who criticize this thing, this emblem, and I agree. I understand that the point is yellow journalism should be sanctioned. I would argue that it is the worst thing that is corrupting journalism and gaming journalism in general. It's the lack of, as you said, the fact that the articles are really written in 10 seconds, not researched, not deep, superficial.
Yeah, that is the main problem. You know what? As a consumer, I fucking agree, dude. Like, we can sit here and we can. No, hang on. I want to go on this rant. I want to go off on this rant. Let me go off on this rant.
Go on this rant.
Okay, I want to ramble. I want to ramble for a minute. I want to say that, dude. Look, as a fucking consumer, it's true. Like, there's a lot of issues with games journalism. And look, we can get here all high and mighty and being like, well, they shouldn't take gifts from the pub developer. They shouldn't be friends with the developer, and they shouldn't do that. And, like, that's all true. They shouldn't be doing that stuff, and it does harm their credibility to a significant degree. But the fact that everybody knows that 95, I don't know about 95%, but like the vast majority of this games journalism stuff, the vast majority of it is just fucking, it's garbage. It's all garbage articles. It's garbage because of corruption. It's garbage because they plagiarize the stuff. It's garbage because they're lazy and, like, literally they'll have articles where the article is just us reading this fucking Reddit post in fucking tweets, and then or fucking video, a link of video. And it's fucking it's the lowest quality garbage tier bullshit, and they don't put any effort in 95% of the time, and they don't do any research, and you don't know if they're lying to you because, like, most of the time they are, or at least a lot of the time they do seem to be lying to you openly. It's just a garbage industry. And I wish it wasn't like this. I really wish it wasn't like that, because I think it could be interesting to have good games journalism, but we don't have it. And well, not from these companies, not from these games journals. Now, maybe individual bloggers or YouTubers might be like doing, or individual content creators. But even then, a lot of that, there's corruption in that area too. There's a lot of plagiarism issues. There's a lot of people taking undisclosed sponsorships, or even just disclosed sponsorships, but the sponsorships are probably ones they shouldn't be taking. There's a lot of different issues in that area too. But I think there can be. I wish we could get good games journalism. I really do. But it's just, there's so many issues.
I think that ship has sailed, not for good games journalism, but game journalism in general. It is still because, again, I think what happened is that the place of game journalism was shrinking already back in 2014, and the pie was getting smaller. A lot of what you described, a lot of what a good journalist, somebody that describes a lot of the outlets that later degenerated at the start. A lot of the outlets were people trying to make better work, better journalism. A lot of games journalism, you see them discussing things seriously, making, but it is. I think at this point it's a role that is disappearing, that is being replaced by YouTube and anyway again the concerning the sensationalism emblem, the start and the end of it, to all the people, because I'm not trying to persuade you. I know you are. You donated $5 to DeepFreeze and made the hashtag Icy Blizzard. But I'm talking about those anti-GamerGate people who have a legitimate opinion to the the sensational emblem tries to cover this important topic and does it in the way that DeepFreeze tries to do it, basing itself on evidence and on the most objective criteria available. So when you go and look at so they don't look so much at the content of the article, except to check if there is a reason to consider that scandalistic, and but mostly at the fact that it is famous for being scandalistic. That sort of thing. It tries to do that.
Well,
if you go and look at certain things, at certain what DeepFreeze did, what I did was checking if the data was accurate. If you go and look at if I tell you right now my opinion on this controversial topic, I'm probably sincere. If you ask me what I think about this controversial topic about Meloni doing this or that, that's probably an opinion. I was not expecting the question. I just said what I think. But if I tell you that if I tell you that I disagree with this political thing, I'm stating an opinion. If I say that I disagree with this politician because of a reason that makes little sense, such as I think that this character who has breasts so large that it's not even physically attractive, it's insane. I think this character is made to appeal to lolicons. Then there is a chance that you are not saying something. It's not that plausible what you're saying. You may be actually doing it for the clicks. Again, maybe not, but you're not saying that.
I do want to.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go on. Let's do the questions. I apologize. You do want to get?
All right. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Before I jump in, we're probably not going to talk about DeepFreeze again, which is obviously your major project that you contributed to. Is there anything else you want to say about DeepFreeze before we move on to other topics?
We'll go to DeepFreeze anyway, so don't worry.
Okay. All right. So hey, I know you kind of did this a little bit earlier, but just for clarity's sake, can you please define what GamerGate was?
As far as I'm concerned, well, Stephen Totilo said that the editor-in-chief of Kotaku at the time when I was active in at the time when I was active, said that if you ask 10 people to give you a definition of GamerGate, you'll get 11 different answers. I think he was sincere, but I think the problem is that it's a bad question. GamerGate is not a hate group, not a group. GamerGate is an hashtag used to discuss a series of gaming scandals, originated following the sex scandal involving Kotaku journalist Nathan Grayson and the scam artist he had an affair with, and followed by several other scandals, and used then to discuss several other scandals, such as the so-called "Gamers Are Dead" articles, the Game Journal Pros mailing list, and all that sort of material. It was an hashtag used by a very different number of people for very different purposes, for separate people that were then huddled together by a media that was not very fond of this, of a lot of the criticism that was being sent to them, they were receiving from users of the hashtag. and that has been used to huddle everybody together with the worst users, and to simply make a lot of the discussion about the GamerGate hashtag instead of the scandals that were GamerGate. That's my position. And I've been guilty of that myself, because a lot of times I've talked about GamerGate as a group, when it's not a group, it's a series of scandals, and the hashtag used to discuss them.
A lot of the people I interview, they actually do agree with you. There's diverse perspectives on GamerGate, what exactly it is. A lot of people do say that, look, no one should view this thing as a group. It's just a controversy, or it's a series of controversies, or it's a hashtag. Now, some people might look at that and be like, I understand where you're coming from. I do see that it's Gate, right? There's Watergate. Watergate isn't a group. Watergate's an event. Gamergate, Gamergate. It's also an event. And there is very much like this ongoing event phenomenon to it. And people use the hashtag for, about 3 to 4 years roughly to share information. And it was but there also seemed to be at the same time like different communities that grew up around this hashtag there became a lot of people who were like super focused on ethics and wanted to talk about that all the time, and other people who wanted to talk about like censorship and creative freedom issues, and like some people who wanted to talk about non-gaming journalism stuff, and non-censorship stuff. People wanted to bring in topics like loot boxes and the fact that they're lying to us about these games. Like, remember the Bethesda press conference where they promised the world when it came to the Fallout games, and then they just completely half-assed it, and half the content that they promised wasn't even in the game, supposedly. I've not played it myself. I don't know, but that's what people say, like No Man's Sky. And so people were getting really upset about a whole host of different issues. And they're like, some people also wanted to like fight in a culture war against, what they perceived as the woke SJWs who were ruining our games. Like, for some people, they cared about that too, and they all used the hashtag, all 4 of these different groups, plus people who wanted to go in really wild directions with it. Like, some people thought that Gamergate is about stopping the military from influencing what games get made, because they were concerned that that the military is giving special access to companies like Electronic Arts and Activision, and that they're promoting military propaganda. For some people, that's what Gamergate was about more than anything else, or as equal to anything else. So there was so many different people involved in this hashtag for a wide variety of reasons. Doesn't seem like there really was all that much, if any, harassment from not that much harassment from Gamergate people. Certainly not like the crazy stuff, like people sending mean tweets. That's one thing, maybe. Maybe somebody got mad in an argument and crossed the line and said, "Go fuck yourself, you fucking asshole," or whatever, and like that could be seen as harassment by some people, but like nothing on the criminal level of harassment that we saw. By and large, it seems, from the Gamergate people.
The three major gamer harassment scandals that people associate with Gamergate are all fairly easy to dismantle if you go and look.
Well, what do you find to be the most compelling evidence in that area?
Well, first of all, it's just talking about harassment, we're already losing, because it's we're simply going out of the talking about the scandals and about and talking about and we are talking about we're talking about harassment, which is what has always been the objective of the media and the journalists they were acting less honestly about this whole affair. But if you go and look at the one that stands out to me is the Brianna Hu event, which was during a thread, an anonymous user during the thread where they kept accusing somebody of being Brianna Hu herself, talking about herself in the conversation, brings doxes immediately people called a false flag. There are like 10 posts right after that saying this is a false flag. They immediately point out that who tweeted the fact that she was being doxed. I think I remember that happened too, but the thread that is very visible. Brianna Wu leaving her home was Brianna. That was every journalist said Brianna Wu was doxed on the GamerGate thread, and then left her home. She left her home because she left her home for a weekend because she was going to a convention that she had booked before.
Yes, I can verify that.
That kind of thing is what gets. You see a million articles talking about, and very few actually looking at the data. The fact because there were, in fact, that's so true that I think it's one of the GamerGate related things that DeepFreeze actually ambles people for. See that we're getting back to that, because GamerGate has the thing that it takes a very there's a much higher limit. It's much easier to get fined for something that isn't related to the GamerGate hashtag than for something that is related to the GamerGate hashtag or DeepFreeze, on the assumption that those subjects are more. So, for instance, if somebody writes misinformation about Tachyon Blue, I am more likely to be writes some misinformation about Elon Musk, so let's suppose. I may have to research about that. I am familiar enough with Tachyon Blue, so I may have an easier time finding out. If somebody tweets something factually inaccurate about DeepFreeze, somebody writes something, a scandal-mongering article about DeepFreeze, I know everything about DeepFreeze, so I will immediately spot that. So, to compensate for it, GamerGate people make mistakes, things like that about the GamerGate itself, or scandal-mongering articles about GamerGate were not filed on DeepFreeze that frequently. The whole thing was because it was so obvious. There was this somebody docs another personality that was relatively famous. I don't remember the name. That personality was doxed by somebody who has the name GamerGate with the I in the middle, GAIMER. It's difficult to spell in English. In Italian, I would spell so quickly. The GamerGate in the name, which is unthinkable for somebody to actually belong. Seeing that and saying, yeah, it's somebody from GamerGate doxing. Are you insane? I understand that it's there was a lot of violence and bullshit on the hashtag. There was a lot of I myself was the people who attempted very intensely to when I conversed with journalists, I had like 3 layers of security to avoid getting doxxed or arrested or stuff like that. I was very, very careful. I always was treated with great. The overwhelming majority of journalists was very polite to me, very understanding, answered me. They gave me. I actually had very interesting conversation with some of them. They were very surprised to discover that the DeepFreeze guy is actually somebody that you can have a conversation with. And I was surprised myself to have a conversation with some journalists. But the doxing attempts I received were mostly from third parties. I think Baphomet tried to dox me, the board Baphomet, and somebody from GG Revolt. I think I had a clash with somebody that has been described to me as the GG Revolt dox guy, and the guy started trying to dox me. It was hilariously stupid and hilariously wrong, but he tried. I would have done a better job at dox myself.
Well, I'm
Where was I?
sorry to hear that about the harassment. Now,
No, don't be sorry about me. Nothing happened to me, and if they had doxed me, I have nothing to hide. It's not a big deal. All my employers are aware of what I have done in the between 2014 and 2017. They are aware that at any point nobody cares. Try finding a programmer in Italy. I
yeah,
dare you.
some people some people did view Gamergate as being a community, though, like a movement or a consumer revolt. Um, that did have like some degree of cohesiveness. Do you just think that that wasn't true, or that, or what? What do you think of that?
The, I think that this is. I think that there is a truth to an extent to that. It is true that there were people who that the buzz around the Gamergate hashtag made people congregate and do things together as groups, as take initiatives. But what is and that there was the operation to that was very successful, by the way, that to get sponsors of scandalistic game journalism websites. I don't remember the name of the operation.
Disrespectful
The
nod.
disrespectful nod. There were a lot of things that were organized. There was absolutely no discussing that. But it is what I what I disagree with and think is apparently not. I thought I was the only guy who had this illuminating insight. Instead, you say that most people agree with that. But I don't think that the Gamergate hashtag as a whole is a monoblock, which is what was trying to get sold. If you take journalist Milo, Milo or myself, we're not doing the same thing. If you take Sargon of Akkad and Bonegolem, they're not doing the same thing. That's not my responsibility what you tweet, and it's not your responsibility what I do. Okay. It is very easy to go and look at. I think Ralph Retorto was arrested.
Yeah, he
Wasn't he?
was. I don't.
Yeah, but
I think they. I don't know if they dropped the charges or not, but he was arrested for assaulting a police officer while drunk. Yes.
okay. But you can't really blame me for the guy. Gamergate. You can't say the Gamergate figurehead got arrested for assaulting a cop. He's not a Gamergate figurehead. He's a guy using an hashtag. It's not a thing. That's the point. I don't have to justify. I don't have to explain that you are dishonest if you say that. Full stop. Because it's a guy. It's not a. It's and in general that's true even for less scandalous things. For it is not. I don't have to agree with every single the position that every person on the that used to. I've seen that a lot of the people that I follow, that I have still following on Twitter, have a different position than mine on political issues. I am not married to anyone. I am not married to. I do not have to be to share with you the same opinion on on Ukraine, on the American politics. On it's been very stressful. It's not been very very counterproductive.
Okay.
And it was
So
kind of hard for me to put that into focus when I was more active. Otherwise, I would have been more vocal about it.
all right. So Bone Golem, do you consider yourself a gamer, and what does that mean to you?
It's I think it's something that the Zoomers say and social media users about something. I'm not a. I have. I'm currently. I have currently gotten a pot roast with made with Thai curry, Thai style pot roast with the potatoes, and it's probably gonna be very good. It's currently slow cooking in my kitchen. My cats are outside the kitchen door, all my sister's cats. They're all outside the kitchen door, like hyperventilating because they smell the meat. Am I a cooker? What is you don't have to be, because you're part of, you have an hobby, you have to be to make it your identity. It's not necessarily something that is I game, yes. I do not consider myself a gamer, not as a negative thing. I consider myself, I purchase games, I play games, I pirate a lot of games. I may or may not pirate a lot of games.
Oh, I disavow. I disavow. If YouTube moderators
I
are
have,
watching.
I am not. I try. I did not have a lot of budget for games when I was young, and I was not. I may or may not, but there's not. Am I a gamer? I don't know, because when you say a gamer, you imagine this guy wearing headphones with the playing Call of Duty or the latest competitive game with his friends. They don't. I play old RPGs. I play. I am playing right now for the first time a game, but a game that is that involves me socializing with my friends while I play, but it's very unusual. I normally play on my own, go on the let Nintendo suck off more money out of me with remakes nostalgic remakes. I don't really play independent games that have more that look like they involve a lot of misery and suffering for the main character, or they involve boobs. I don't, but I don't. A gamer can be a million things. I'm not a cooker because I have the pot roast in my kitchen, and I'm not necessarily a gamer. To be a gamer, you have to be interacting with people. I'm not a very assiduous user of social media. My most used social medium is Twitter. And I tweeted the last time in April 2022, before I retweeted on your request the interview.
Yes, thank you. And is the term
So
gamer gendered for you?
You're talking to the non-native English speaker.
Oh, so
I don't really, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not gendered. It's I think it's somebody that assiduously makes gaming part of their identity, that makes it's less about playing games and more about participating into self-defining yourself as possibly in this global collective unconscious of social media. Social media. It's weird because it's Latin. Medium media, Latin. So it should be pronounced media, social media. But in English, of course, I have to call it social media because I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Nuance, intricacies, and me going on a billion tangents.
No, you're fine.
That's today's theme, the billion of tangents. Can we talk about tangents? Have I talked about?
We aren't making a lot of progress on this. I'm on question number 5 out of 75. So let's
of 75. Amazing.
Well, I don't know if it's 75. It might be like 40 or 50. But let's.
You're
but
joking.
No, I keep it deliberately open-knitted for like the first hour if there's interesting areas to explore. And obviously, you being the creator of DeepFreeze, that's something I wanted to explore in depth. Now
you're in for a while. It's gonna be a long day.
Well, my parents want me to do something with them in a couple hours, but they said we could reschedule if need be. It wasn't like plans we had. I told them I'm doing.
I think I'm gonna get flayed if I don't take out the pot roaster.
Okay, well let's just get through this, okay?
Let's get through this.
All right.
Rush.
On August, no, we don't have to rush too much. Like if But let's try to
Wait.
give more concise answers if possible. And I'll try
Yes.
to keep it moving too a little bit. On
That's my fault.
August.
I didn't know if I thought it was like 5 questions.
Oh
Go.
no, you're totally. Did you not get the question list ahead of time? Did I not send it to you?
No?
Uh,
I think not, at least. I'm pretty sure. No, I don't. I didn't. I read everything you wrote to me.
I may not have. Because I was
So you know that
mostly
my answers are genuine and they come from the heart.
because Bonegolem, um, we've been talking back and forth very lightly for the past several months, and because I didn't know you were active on Discord, so I kept trying to reach out to you on Twitter, and you'd reply like a week, like 3 weeks later. But that's
Yes,
because you
because
didn't
I'm
see.
barely there.
Yeah, you didn't see my. So it
And
was like.
I saw it immediately, and they replied 3 weeks later because I wasn't on
Yeah,
the.
but it's
I wasn't
okay.
on. I'm not gonna type on the phone. It takes too long. I go as soon as I'm in front of a computer. Hold on. Okay.
All right. Well, hey.
Question number 4.
All right. Let's do it. On August 28th, 2014, 10 competing outlets all published articles on the same day. These 10 articles were followed by 9 additional articles on other mostly gaming sites over the next few days, which some saw as calling for an end to the gamer identity. What did you think of these articles?
I think there is a fairly large corpus out there of what I thought about those articles. They are all they're mostly listed about the gamers are dead. The so-called gamers are dead. Media Blitz was filed as a collusion thing on DeepFreeze, even though it's quite possibly not collusion, but simply people copying each other. It's not really that. It's a series of scandal mongering articles that mostly followed and quoted an article by Like Alexander that showed a disdain for their audience by journalists. There was in hindsight a very kind of funny and very suicidal. What's like Alexander doing right now?
She retired from games journalism. I don't know what she's doing.
Not really.
Yeah.
There was I seem to recall that the DeepFreeze was one of the primary sources for her when she made her own outlet Offward, whatever it was. She made her own. There was her and one of the primary sources of was DeepFreeze.
Oh, of traffic.
It was like if you went and look at the stats of the website, one of the primary websites that sent their traffic was DeepFreeze. Is not it. And DeepFreeze.it had the when linking articles that were scandal mongering, not to give them the click, DeepFreeze usually gave them give you the archive link, so it was the people that clicked on it.
Well, anyway, let's try to avoid getting too dragged off in tangents if possible.
Yes, sir. But it is an answer to the question, and it was a suicidal move to the point that this is what happened to the person who instigated that bullshit.
Yeah, their career.
Question number 6.
Okay.
Can you hear that? I'm beating something on the keyboard.
Why do you think they wrote these articles?
The Like, I think, was rather sincere in her outburst about because she thought that she had an influence and that this would have more of an effect in curbing what she saw was a negative thing than it would have on her. It was entitlement, is that in one word. I want an audience that is more closer to me, that is more, and a lot of people had that idea or thought that it was, or wanted to steer the conversation about certain topics that were surfacing in a certain direction. We all saw how that went out, so hubris is probably the answer.
If the games press tried to reform or even just ignored ethical questions, instead of publishing the Gamers Are Dead articles, do you think this still would have blown up into a massive controversy?
I believe that it would not have blown into a huge controversy as it did. I think that I distinctly remember that the Gamers Are Dead articles were what threw this thing into the into motion. I would add, even though that's not really nice to say, but I think they would have died. That did not accelerate the death of the gaming press that significantly, because they died anyway. They were on the death throes anyway. The fact that they could write something that stupid was a symptom, not a cause of of this disease.
What?
Hate.
Why do you
Is it
think
hate?
the games press didn't go that route instead of just acknowledging their mistakes and doing better in the future?
I think that the reason is that if you go and look, a lot of uh, a lot of the gaming press was a very ideologicized. It was ideologically involved. Very a lot of especially the outlets that participated in that media blitz. A lot of there was a lot of people who were so I'm sorry. Lack of oxygen, lack of youth. Were already people that had this strong opinion and this strong incentive to drive the narrative, or just detected blood in the water and thought they'd go for it. There was a controversy, they were going to jump on it. It's what sharks do. It was not going to be a different route.
What do you think of games journalism, Bonegolem?
Deceased, in one word.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
something that, huh?
Yeah, you're not, you might not be wrong, dude. Like technically, like a couple of these sites still exist, but I don't think they get anywhere near the traffic that they used to in their heyday. Do they?
It's simply something that changed. The article by Auerbach during Gamergate was very on point. They are on their way out. YouTubers are on their way in. The video by Donkey on game journalism was Video Game Donkey, the YouTuber, was very on point. Something that he said that really sunk in me. I really, really hate JRPGs. I really, really hate. But there's something I hate more. I really hate anime. But there's something else that I really. It's turn-based combat. So if I tell you that Persona 5 is a turn-based JRPG, but it's very anime, is a great game, then you know that is that means something, because you know me. There are 30 people writing for IGN. You don't know what you're getting. You don't know what. It is true. It is far easier to get something out of. You can build an audience out of the people who are only into old school shooting games on Super Nintendo nostalgia. You can make niche things. You can make the review role of the journalist has been mostly taken by user reviews, not only on YouTube but also on Steam. If I want to know if a game is a good purchase or not, I read a few reviews on Steam. I see 10 quick reviews, I get a gist of what is good and not what is not, and what I would accept. If the role as informers has been taken out by social media, because back in the day when I was reading the Games Machine, the people from the Games Machine would go and interview people at cons, at when somebody has a new game out, they announce it on Twitter. they make a tweet, and the journalist makes an article about the tweet by the developer. There's really no social media has taken over for that role. They are not in that regard. Those outlets that, ironically, Kotaku and Polygon were some of those that tried to do some longer form meditated journalism about a topic, were at least trying to provide something but they're evolving from to in something different was something that was trying to happen somewhere, but game journalism is gone. It's something that is not as it has still some influence, but as an aggregate thing, but it is not very interesting anymore.
All
What
right.
are we, 9?
Yeah. What kind
Number
of
9?
Well, I don't know where exactly we're at because it's not sorted that way. It's sorted through different categorizations and
We
stuff.
go.
Okay.
We whip the Italian guy on the balls every time he starts going on a tangent. Remember that.
What
Have a whip cracking sound. Okay.
What kind of reforms would you have liked to have seen in games journalism?
Irrelevant.
No, what kind of reforms would you have liked to have seen at the time?
Yeah, irrelevant. It's what I would have liked to see at the time.
You wanted them to die? You didn't want them to reform?
No, I didn't want them to die. I didn't have anything one way or again, I told you before, I tried to follow a certain outlet deliberately, and I discovered that I only looked for game journalism twice. I think that the ethic reforms were not that. I think they were. It's scandalous coming from me, but I don't think the ethic reform were that important because we weren't. The point was not really asking for stricter standards for the slight. It was stop pissing on the ground. They were pissing on the ground. I'm not gonna be there. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for visiting me, Tachyon Blue, at my house. I would kindly ask that next time, instead of hanging your coat on the chair, you hang it on the hanger that is in the. They were pissing on the ground. They were making article over article about literal nobodies they were friends with. They were doing scandals. They were doing. That was really something. Again, when the Patricia Hernandez thing came up, Kotaku immediately tried solving it. Most people agreed. Most people did make. But the thing that I would have liked to see was a change in the way they put out content to make it interesting. Inject humor. Make jokes. The Game Machine, the outlet, the magazine that I used to read when I was young, had all these jokes. It was all jokes. It was. I still remember some of the jokes I used to read when I was young. This is a children's game. I gave it no vote. I thought I could give it a vote for children and a vote for adults, but then I would have to give a vote for moms, for passerbys, for this other guy that works at the Games Machine that is by himself. They were making jokes about. I don't know what this weapon does. I don't know if I am trimming his. There was a guy shooting a laser gun in the crotch of an enemy, and I don't know if I am trimming his. Let's not say, or if I am, or if I'm grinding his leg. But there were jokes. They tried to joke. I'm sorry. They're not. I didn't make good jokes because I translated from Italian in my head on the fly. But they were trying to do something. They were. What's the name? There were sections. A part of the magazine that is always there. How would you call it? A part of the magazine that is always there. The same You know that you have these 2 pages that have the same thing every time. A section, rubrica in Italian.
Oh, I don't know. I don't read a whole lot of magazines.
Whatever.
I'd
There
like
were
to.
these places where
I'd
they
like
make
to if they had
made
good
only jokes.
magazines for games, but they don't because the magazine industry, like the games journalism is dead. Games journalism industry in magazines is especially dead. And the only one that exists appears to be like Game Informer, which is owned by GameStop. Which that's I
Oh,
don't know. I
yeah,
wouldn't
and
want to trust Game Informer
I've
necessarily at
checked
all.
out. I've checked out during Gamergate the website for the games machine, and I really didn't like it. They're not preserved themselves as good as they were when they were a
Well,
magazine. The point is that do something nice, do something fun, make jokes, maybe make articles where you try to do something different, something that gives value to your output,
Bonegolem,
that makes you stand out and doesn't. That is more important than the ethics.
should they make jokes like this
Make a
game
very short
should
strings.
they make jokes like this game developer acts like a 12-year-old kid?
Because no, that's
Like
not
Jason
funny.
our 14-year-old kid, like Jason Schreier.
That was not a joke. That's the point.
Yeah.
The whole thing is that they made. But yes, you are correct that it is what Kotaku did to the extent that they made the articles that were more scandalistic, more. I already said it that that article by Schreier was more substantial
No, the second one you mean, not
than
the
the
first one.
articles that only regurgitate the same press release.
Anyway, let's move on from this. All
Let's
right.
move on for this. The point is, sorry, I rambled a lot, but the point is simply do something that gives value to your output that isn't there in present the information very concisely. Present the information. Talk about watermelons like Otaku did. That could be an idea. It didn't work, but make a website about the. Make a website only about a specific type of games and be going real deep. Make something that makes you stand out. Make something particular that isn't just regurgitated
and if
press
you look
releasing.
at like one of the websites that has been successful, Niche Gamer, they have done that because they've catered to people who love sexy boobed anime women, but then they also have lost their minds kind of in recent years. Like some of their, not all everyone there who works there, of course, but like at least one of their writers is like super fucking obsessed with gay people in like a bad way. He apparently thinks that. Yeah, have you seen this on Niche Gamer? Like,
I've not seen that, but I know that a lot of the websites that Gamergate hashtag try to propel as good alternatives like TechRaptor or Niche Gamer were not that. I do remember receiving a lot of submissions concerning Niche Gamer right when DeepFreeze was about to be closed. And at the time, I did not publish those because they weren't fully baked, in my opinion. Let's make it short and say that they were not. Right now, I would have because they are fully baked, the things that I have seen.
Yeah, I've not seen everything on their site.
Erased a very large amount of their articles without even. It was a very strange thing that they did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. TechRaptor is especially very suspicious about some of the stuff that they did later on.
The point is that none of those outlets were One Angry Gamer crashed. A lot of things crashed. Because there simply wasn't a market. It wasn't about the fact that. That's exactly my point. There wasn't a matter of Gamma Sutra publishing like Alexander, who is corrupt, whereas there are the other outlets, that, like you said before. There wasn't an audience because that's Raptor still at the point where he was still, despite the fact they took another perspective, they still talked about the controversy and they still published regurgitated press release. They didn't have anything of value for me.
Yeah, well,
you understand?
So yeah, same here. Like I think. Look, I understand. Like I understand they want to build something. They wanted to build a new gaming industry, a new games journalism industry. And some of those companies also, some of those sites were still around prior to GamerGate. They existed before GamerGate, and then too. But like some of them were created because of GamerGate, because like people wanted to build a new games industry, a new games press. an ethical games press, and
But
it
if you
doesn't
go
seem
and
like
look,
the market
there was
mostly was there. Like obviously, niche gamer still exists, um, but
there is the
but
fact that
it's
it
the
is
same problem. It's just like Kotaku. It's basically just an anti SJW version of Kotaku. Um, like
and that
most of
is
their
the wrong
articles,
direction to take.
let's go. Like I'm just on their site right now. If we go through most of their
I'm sorry.
articles, okay, some of them are like a little bit long, but most of them are like, oh hey, here's a press release from this company that we're just gonna copy paste. That's basically a
My
lot of their
experience from
articles.
each gamer, exactly.
Here's a 5 paragraph article about this controversy in Taiwan. Like okay, like it doesn't seem like most of their it's the new games journalism sites. They have a lot of the same problems that the old games journalism sites does. They have the same issues in many cases.
Again, I've had the exact same experience as you with Niche Gamer, and I didn't hear about the whole Kotaku from a different perspective, but that sounds about right. From what I expected the things to go. I think One Angry Gamer was going in that direction, and there was a bit of a pity for me because if there was somebody that I really respected and admired, it was William Asher. I have literally when I was making the infographics before, he literally appeared to me in a dream, telling me to do more work. I was never.
Yeah, I was on good terms with him too. I didn't like know him super well, but him and I had talked a few times, and
It
then
was a really
he covered my convention panel getting banned from Archon. His website is one of the few websites that actually covered that this event happened. That I was harassed in real life. Um, well, I was harassed on the internet, which had real life consequences. And this group of social justice warriors got my panel at Archon banned. And his website was one of the few websites that actually covered this news story. Almost nobody else covered it. Maybe like a couple of YouTubers talked about it. I don't know, or talked about it on live streams. But yeah, his was like the only official like news site that covered it, including among
I
gaming
wasn't
sites
aware of
and
it. I'm
non-gaming
sorry.
sites. But then dude, that guy lost his mind. I'm sure you saw it too. Like by the end, he was like creating a list of enemies of people he hates, and he had
Jesus.
yeah, he had uh,
Uh,
he had started using
Something
some
happened
really
to him. I
weird
am.
language that he probably shouldn't have been using, and he also started the boner culture controversy. Do you remember this about Mortal Kombat?
No, and I don't hear it. I frankly don't want to hear it. I want to remember him for the good things and not for what hopefully was a hard time in his life that he's gotten out of.
Yeah, maybe
Really,
he was going through a
really,
mental health crisis. I hope he's doing better now. I haven't talked to the guy in like 8 years, so wish him the best.
I have been. It was very nice to me too. I have very good fond of memories of what he did for me. I remember when I was overwhelmed by the response to DeepFreeze. He was not informed about DeepFreeze beforehand. I had talked about about it to very few people. One of them was Campbell himself. I given him a quick heads up, but a lot of people were caught off guard by the. Uh, but Asher was steadily defending the freeze when it was very. It was very nice to see recognition from him. I didn't even write him to thank him. The It's really. I'm sorry to hear that it was. The only thing I remember it was that the articles were a little going in a certain direction on One Angry Gamer before the website was sold or lost. The the point is that we're talking about the changes, the what could have been done for the. It isn't about ideology. It isn't about stopping to make left-wing social justice warrior propaganda. That is, it's the same thing that is happening right now with the controversy about Netflix shows and whatever. I'm not
Right.
angry about people putting black people in the Netflix show. I'm angry about bad Netflix shows. I'm angry that I'm not angry that you are making a black Little Mermaid because I want the white culture to be. I'm angry because because you're trying to inject a message into a fable, because you're trying to Americanize my fable, because you're putting a black person inside, because a group of people that include an ethically diverse group, including Latinos, blacks, Asians. That's American. That's not universal. That is, Italy is not like that. Italy is mostly white. People that are not white are first-generation immigrants. You are not making a more accurate story if you do this. You are making a story that feels more American when it shouldn't be. I'm not mad about female protagonists. I prefer female protagonists. I like them in games. I like them in stories. When I play RPGs, I almost always play female characters. I like it. I think you can give more depth to a female character for a series of reasons. Mostly because you can get away with making them more emotional and still make them badass compared to a male character. But I'm tired of the way they're written, the way they are made. It's not about the fact that you don't solve the problem of making of all these black people appearing in stories by replacing white people, by making stories where you replace black people with white people. That's the same fucking problem. You don't resolve the problem of ideologized games journalism by making games journalism that is ideologized to the opposite ideology. It's you're doing the same exact thing in the opposite direction.
Okay.
And you don't solve the problem of aside from pissing on the floor, ethics in journalism are not that terrible. It's not that crucial. It was not that what killed game journalism. Game journalism had a very serious ethic problems for a time in a certain niche of it that is not as bad as the more horrible structural problem in bad reporting that is a characteristic of all Western media right now. But it is but the real problem that killed game journalism is the fact that they did no longer feel the niche. They needed to specialize. They needed to do something different, in my opinion. Go on before I ramble more.
So, did I already ask you how responsive I was the last question how responsive to calls for reform the Games Press was? I think we got way off track.
No, you didn't ask that, and
Okay,
the
well,
Games Press was actually rather responsive.
Okay.
A lot of outlets updated their. If you go and look at Kotaku's response to the original scandal, they kind of dismissed it. The original scandal with Nathan Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
The following scandal with Patricia Hernandez, they responded. They took serious action, commendable action. It's not great, but they did reply. And Kotaku did reform their ethics to an extent. Many outlets changed their ethics policies. Many outlets did things like removing the score of many outlets did actually respond more. A lot of the press was changed, or a lot of the journalists that were controversial quickly lost their position. They are. It's really. I don't think it was they were as irresponsible as irresponsible as people think. A lot of the bad stuff we saw felt like a cancer in an industry that was not completely broken. A lot of outlets did do things and did change things.
Well,
a little bit.
I'm glad you were able to expound upon that and answer that, because I do agree. It's weird too, because if you look at it, What they didn't do almost ever was say, well, hey, look, the Gamergate people have criticized us. We want to do better. They would almost never say something like that. Maybe a couple of exceptions, but for the most part, they would actually add corrections to their articles in many cases when we brought up issues, and they would actually like Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain, with the review boot camp and stuff like that, and they DeepFreeze has a whole list of different corrections that they would make on stuff after we pointed it out, and they would
one thing
actually,
that
God, they would
one
actually
thing
create
that
ethics
could
policies and
be
things like this in response to our critiques. They would actually respond not to us, but to like they would just quietly make it ethics policy and quietly add corrections, but they would never ever credit Gamergate as being responsible for it, even though we were the ones who pointed it out in the first place.
I would agree that Gamergate was not responsible instead because it was an event and not an hashtag. So it was an event and not a group. But I understand what you mean. Yes, they didn't acknowledge it was due to those scandals, but they did make changes. And one thing I can say from my perspective, when eventually my cooperator talked me into, instead of firing journalists, actually asking them first for comments or stuff like that, which I never did because I consider myself an archivist, not a journalist. When I actually started contacting journalists, they were surprisingly responsive and surprisingly nice and surprisingly took the criticism head on. A lot of people. It was really was not as bad as I thought. Some things were bad, really bad, shitting on the floor and pissing, but and ruining your podcast by saying a lot of bad words because because I'm Italian and I don't really have the same filter when I speak a different language. But you had more questions. Go on.
Yeah, I do want to say I'm glad to hear that they were responsive to you asking them about their ethical violations. Unfortunately, um, when I contacted mainstream journalists for various websites and various publications about their bad coverage of Gamergate, they never responded at all pretty much. Maybe one or two exceptions out of the dozens of times I contacted them. But at least the games journalists, it sounds like, might have been willing to hear out and respond to you. That's good.
As you say, you have said it before. You were talking to them about Article 139 of the 300 they published that they don't care. They probably would have done the same in other subjects, in my opinion.
Anyway,
let's proceed. Let's go on. Let's go with the more questions that are still unanswered.
You've kind of okay. Do you want me to skip some of them if they were already talked about in depth a little bit?
Do your thing. I trust you.
If you were the editor,
think about your parents. Think about your parents who are waiting for you, and think about my pot roast who's waiting for me.
If you were the editor-in-chief of a gaming website and some of your employees were accused of ethical violations, how would you have handled the situation?
I would. The best way to handle the situation, given the situation, it's actually a tough question today. Back in the day, I would have responded very. I take these things seriously. I will check this out. I will do what I would have immediately acknowledged the accusations. I take this thing very seriously. I will look at them, and I would have looked at them carefully. I would have corrected them, and I would have, if present, and I would have given the most clear possible feedback to readers. Today it's not that easy because it's really easy because the information is so bloody fast that I don't know if that would be the best outcome, because people would not be would pass the information in a very fragmented way. I don't know. It's more complicated today, but it's still probably the thing that I would do because I stick to my principles. Next.
I know we've touched upon this a little bit, but do you think there's still
Okay.
a role for good games journalism, and if so, what does that look like to you?
I already said it. There's the written content is growing out of style. Even for it's really actually YouTube style content is growing out of style. The right now the younger people are looking at 3-second videos on TikTok or shorts or at content that is streaming like continuously in an incessant. We may not even have the longer form essays or that in the same way that we have it today. As for written journalism, the format that it takes is if there is still a niche, it will be something that stands out and does something different that provides something that you don't get into. That is, I think, the best model that is available to somebody to try to make written content. Blog that really is very interesting to the content that people want to people that don't care about the press release because they can find it anywhere. People don't care about do something people don't care about the direct information because they can find it on the tweets from the developer. The people don't even care about the review because they have the review on Steam or on other sources. Or on Metacritic or you go on OpenCritic or whatever. You go do something that they don't get elsewhere. You put a personality content or something like YouTubers do. You write articles that are really in depth about something that something that stands out, something different. In that way, DeepFreeze was something different because with all its flaws, which are many, it did something that nobody did before. It presented information in an innovative and particular way. That's part of why it was relatively successful. Was surprisingly successful considering the niche audience that it had. Probably it would have worked reasonably well. Those aspects of DeepFreeze that would have worked reasonably well on a larger scale, simply because it was unusual, innovative. Do something that is different. That is what I.
Do you have any thoughts
Whip
on?
me on the balls when I go on a tangent and go on with the questions.
You're fine. You're fine. Um, do you, do you have any thoughts on game journal pros?
You can see you can find my thoughts on Game Journal Pros on the website deepfreeze.it, where there is an extensive article and an extensive entry in the rules page that explains specifically the reasoning behind the filing. Game Journal Pros was we have the problem with the Game Journal Pros is the fact that it is mysterious. We only have very small snippets published by whoever it is that was the original whistleblower, and the primary whistleblower was William Asher, who when Asher decided to be the whistleblower, it is my belief, based on the evidence, that he did not have access to the mailing list anymore. He only had you see that he only publishes little bits of the mailing list, like he only could see the titles or something to that extent. So we don't know what happened there. It was a gathering of people that made that had the same job, much like people that were passive in the list, people that were active in the list, people that were in the. I have had based on my conversation with Kyle Orland, the founder of the list, I do believe that it was and is, if he's still active, a person of a reasonable level of integrity and a reasonable level of. So I think that his art was in the right place when he made it, and I think that what he writes about it is sincere. We are aware of that improprieties that happened concerning primarily the behavior of Ben Kuchera on that list, but but the primary thing that made DeepFreeze, they made which made maybe something that was not intended at the time. The primary thing that made Game Journal Pros meaningful and pushed me to decide that membership there should be something that is that you inform an audience of, that you should know about, is the fact that the composition of the list. Because at the time, again, if I watch porn on the on my computer, nobody bats an eye. If I watch porn on at work, it's a whole different story. If I make a joke about hentai in right now to you, it's already more than if I did it with a friend talking casually, and it is something scandalous if I do it in public. In the Game Journal Pros had a lot of editors-in-chief, a huge number of people, and at a certain point, it was just the fact that even the most banal things happening there would have been very impactful, just by the sheer number of people there. So that's, I think, what made it more scandalous. That's the short of the argument that I made on the website.
In August 2015, Michael Koretsky, a regional director for the Society of Professional Journalists, hosted the SPJ Airplay Conference. The idea of the conference was to have journalistic ethics experts meet with GamerGate supporters to discuss their concerns about games journalism and the way the media covered GamerGate. The second half of the panel, of the conference, I should say, was interrupted by bomb threats, forcing the convention center to be evacuated. Do you have any thoughts on this event?
I think that it was a very risky thing that they did, a very generous thing that they did. I had a nice email conversation with Koretsky, and I think he was a swell guy. And it's a bit of a pity that I don't think that the excellent idea he had was followed very well, because I do not agree a lot with the composition of the panel. I feel that Koretsky would have liked me to be there, and I would have loved to be there. At the time, I was already in financial dire straits. Otherwise, I would have definitely tried. Some people from GamerGate even offered to pay my airplane bill. I didn't feel that it was appropriate for me to accept. I would have loved to do that, though. Would have loved to be there. And you see them mentioning, Koretsky mentioned DeepFreeze multiple times. But I think that the bomb threat was definitely not present, and it was really it is not really a move that shows it's a move that shows pettiness, stupidity by some idiot that. But it was a very great. Could have been better, but it was for the part of the SPJ and Koretsky. It was a great thing. It was not a bad thing from either from the. I'm not complaining about what the panelists did. I'm a perfectionist. I would have done different, but it was still good.
Why do you think the media largely didn't cover SPJ Airplay?
Because they don't follow. I don't think the media covers SPJ or Airplay. Airplay, was it? I don't think they cover it a lot either way. If you go and look, it's not really that. I don't think it's that significant of an event. It's not it's probably not a scandal that was deliberately covered by the reptilian people. It was. I think it was less about that and more about the fact that it's a routine meeting of journalists. I don't think they go and look. If you think an outlet has been deliberately not following a certain, go and look at what if they cover the one from next year or the previous year. I don't think that is the case. I think that you see that they don't cover that one either.
Have you seen the Airplay documentary that came out recently?
Oh,
Oh, it's actually worth checking out. The first half is available for free. The second half you have to pay $10 for. It's currently on sale for $5 though. It's actually really good. It's a solid documentary about the topic.
about the
About AirPlay and GamerGate.
ah, well, can we go on?
Yeah.
I
Uh,
don't have a lot of time.
okay. Okay. Have you?
I apologize.
No, you.
I have a lot of time. I have a lot of anger too.
Do you have?
Hunger,
Do
not
you?
anger. I'm not angry.
Do you
I
have
want to eat.
any? Do you have any thoughts on the Save Point panel at South by Southwest or my GamerGate panels at Arch Anime and Natsucon?
I am not familiar with either of these.
Okay. Um, do you think that the GamerGate banner should have been used to take on issues outside of games journalism, such as industry issues that people have issues with outside of games journalism?
I don't think that you can police an hashtag.
Okay.
I think that it was weird, it was strange, but at a certain point, an hashtag is used for whoever he wants it to, for whatever they want. I think that it was by my opinion, that is very said this, that I'm not I'm not the hashtag police and I don't get to. I think it was not a good idea, mostly because you are continuing to talk about certain topic by using the same hashtag that was supposed to be about a specific scandal, not even about. It's not really that. It's not really that relevant. You are simply leeching on an hashtag, like I'm sure they do on every hashtag that trends.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about Operation Disrespectful Nod?
It's it was an interesting operation and a very powerful showing of the strength of consumers, that you can actually, and about the real and the serious organizational power of. It was a bit controversial because if you go and look, it is cutting the meal ticket of people that you disagree with you, to the extent that it was that I am a bit ambivalent about it. But in general, for the extent that it was about the taking the fight to the outlets to respond from the then powerful media resources. They were stubbornly pissing on the floor of ethics. That was amazing, and it was an incredibly effective operation. I do believe it was Acid that at least had a significant role in it. I think he tweeted about it, not tweeted, wrote about it, wrote the recaps about it.
Oh, Acid Man,
Uh,
the board owner
Acid
of
Man,
GamerGate HQ.
the Acid Man, the only one that did not go insane. My theory is that he was insane already because of the Asuka. Because of the Asuka avatar. Asuka avatar is typically saying that you are going insane. But he has been keeping his sanity for a very long time. He's incredible. That's a quality.
Okay. All right. Anything you want to talk about regarding artistic freedom? I know this wasn't a focus of yours necessarily.
Artistic freedom.
What?
Yes, the
Or
art
was
is
it?
the art.
Or was it a focus of yours during GamerGate?
No,
Okay.
the art is the art is the art. The artist is the artist. You have the artistic freedom is functions, in my opinion, in much the same way as freedom of information. Okay, I am. It is very easy right now to try to censor people instead of simply disagreeing with them. But The point is that freedom of information is indisputable, and when you say the most horrible things, they are a problem for things that are not about the freedom of information. So if you are sharing images of underage children, you're committing a crime. It's not about the fact that you have freedom of information. It's about the fact that you are committing a crime. If you are sharing Al-Qaeda propaganda, Al-Qaeda, ISIS propaganda, you are if you see a lot of people, what freedom of information is, are the people is the lack of truth. Okay, if I say something that is false, and it's difficult sometimes to see, if I say that my opinion is that is this, you are sincere. If you are trying your best, you are being sincere. You're being you're trying to this to an extent to you cannot be censored. You are not doing something wrong. You can do something wrong if you are dishonest. If you are trying to pass false information as true. If you are trying to, that is the same for artistic expression. You are not the message. You are. If I have the fact that Roman Polanski has made horrible things does not affect the quality of his work, nor the quality of the work that Kevin Spacey or Louis C.K. or whoever has been in the center of specific scandals has done. You are not and you can write whatever you want as long as you are sincere. I am not happy about I hope Disney doesn't do well, because it is not art, it is not sincere. It is something made by a committee that is trying to be that is ruining properties, because this is not when they make the show, they're not exercising artistic freedom, they are suits trying to and it's difficult to imagine artistic freedom going on behind the lines. A lot of what is quality, of what is pleasant, of what is good in our current world of media, of video games, of art, is coming from independent people, from small things, from and I hope that there will always be art that is good, even when the large people are pushing messages or being I think that people that don't I'm rambling, it's been too long. I am thinking of I'm smelling the pot roast. Netscape, my friend, get me from this misery. Whip me on the balls when I go on tangents.
Okay. We can skip
but
the
not
rest
actually.
of the artistic freedom stuff if you don't have anything else you want to say about it. Some people well, you don't do GamerGate.
I trust you, go.
Was your experience
ask me the important questions.
Some people say that everybody or most people who use the GamerGate hashtag were right-wing. Do you think that was accurate?
Considering the amount of people that are right-wing that are in my mentions right now, I think there was a very significant amount of it. But the GamerGate was not a right-wing, left-wing thing. I think that it was more of a... there was that great journalist, I'm still subscribing to him on YouTube, even though he's never made anything anymore, that simply saw that most people on GamerGate were libertarian. That was the start and the end of it. People that were against the more authoritarian part. And at the time, it was a lot of people that follow alternative news sources. Went to a bit to the right, but GamerGate was not a right wing. A lot of people that were there ended up being right wing, but it was some. But looking at it politically is the wrong lens, because when people piss on ethics, it's not really a political thing.
Okay. Do you want to very briefly discuss your political views or philosophy?
Very briefly, I am a former. It's difficult, a bit difficult to say because I'm in the Italian context. I am a former supporter of the Communist Party, actually, because in Italy we had a Communist Party that was not communist, despite the fact that it was called communist. It used to be It's a long story. I was a extremist, left winger, let's say. I have over the years strongly mitigated my positions on a lot of subjects, and on a lot of things I am agreeing or disagreeing on specific topics with the right wing or left wing. A libertarian would be a good word. I am very libertarian. By if I understand correctly what a libertarian is, because we don't use that term in Italian.
So you used to be a communist. Oh, you used to be. So the Italian Communist Party is more of. I'm looking on Wikipedia. There's elements of it. There's factions that are communist, but there's other also more moderate factions that
Here's
are
the
only
thing.
democratic socialist, right?
Here's the thing. I'll make the very, very, very abridged version of the story. We had this bold guy. He was a very evil, bad guy. A bold guy. He was very good friend with the most famous bad guy of the world. The villain from Kung Fury. The guy that was a very good friend and an inspiration for that guy. And we called fascism after him. The fact that now we have a lot of movies with Nazis as the villain is because of their efficiency, not because ours were stupid. But you go and look at. I mean, let's not make too many jokes about serious topics. The point is that Italy is formed by the opposition. Imagine being a German after World War II, seeing the destruction that. Imagine, I don't know what that feels like. I know what it feels like for an Italian. We were the villains, but we were the incompetent ones, the ones that Hitler kept bailing out of the bullshit that we did. So what you are an Italian in 1945. How do you build your identity? How do you build yourself? Where are you? Resistance. The resistance is what Italy was founded on. We didn't. When the Allies arrived in Naples, they found that they were greeted by Italians who had already kicked out the fascists. We had resistance everywhere who tried to resist first the fascists and then the Nazi occupation when the Germans invaded northern Italy in 1943 and actually sent some Italians finally to the concentration camps. Because for a long time Italy was, even during fascism, a safe place for Jews. If you look at Hannah Arendt's Banality of Evil, they mention how the history of people, of Jews surviving the persecution in the rest of Europe was a history of getting to Italy and then getting out of Italy. Because Italy was not had the racial laws, but they were not persecuting Jews. They were very little applied. Italy built itself on the resistance. I get into the point. I'm rambling, but I get to the point. Okay. Italy is built on the resistance. The resistance is liberal. The resistance is Republican. The resistance is, but most of the resistance is socialist and communist. There were a lot of those. A very strong part of the resistance was when the Italy writes their constitution, it is written by the largest parties, the Christian Democratic Center, the liberals, and the socialists and communists. They participate in the writing of the Italian constitution that for the time is very advanced. It is very advanced compared to other constitutions today, mostly because it came later. But it was also this influence of left-wingers. Italy has many parties. It's not a two-party system. But the history of Italian politics in the First Republic, from 45 to 91, is the history of 94. 94 is the Second Republic. the history is the history of the major party, Democrazia Cristiana, Christian democracy, and slowly getting less powerful from the total hegemony they had, and of the constant opposition of the largest opposition party, the Communist Party. Italy nearly got communist by election. It was unthinkable. It's a weird story. Now, slowly, Christian democracy starts getting more allies in the left. There is eventually the Pentapartito, 5 parties that form the government with communists at the opposition. There's eventually the historic compromise, where the communists abstain from votes. It lasts so long, this Communist Party, that they managed to arrive at seeing the things that the Soviet Union communists were doing, to start a little distancing themselves a little from that. Eventually, there is an interesting situation in Italy, because in 1991 and 2, there is a colossal scandal, Tangentopoli. Every government, person, everybody was corrupt. There was so much corruption, it was insane. Parties are dismantled. Parties are destroyed. The socialists go from being one of the largest Italian parties to be microscopic. A lot of new parties start off. The biggest winner is Berlusconi. Berlusconi goes into politics almost right away. Berlusconi had ties with the most famous criminal that was caught in Tangentopoli, Bettino Craxi, then prime minister, who went to live his last days in Tunisia to avoid getting arrested. A real piece of shit, and a good friend of Berlusconi. We're getting a little bit off, but the point is that the Italian Communist Party is not involved in these scandals. The Italian Communist Party is not involved in this scandal because they were never part of the government. That's the interesting thing. So they get into the. Since they were not part of the government, they did not have the opportunity to participate in corruption. So when Berlusconi comes into play, the communists are still his opponent, except they keep changing names. They become a Democratic Party of the left, then Democratic Party. They're still there. They're called the Democratic Party. The Italian Communist Party was an opposition force that was largely very different from what you see as communists in the rest of the world, because they were simply a left-wing opposition that was more personified by people that anti-regime people, anti-government people, than by the devotion to communism that was very quickly abandoned, especially after 1991. It's interesting to see. So a communist back in the day was not a communist like today. It is not Maduro. Not think Maduro. Think somebody that is anti-government. It's a particular. It's think libertarian. It's weird to think, but it was like that at the time. Okay. I'm sorry. I went on the biggest tangent of all tangents.
Well, so as someone, this is related to games journalism a little. Well, first I do want to ask, have your politics changed since GamerGate or because of GamerGate? Like, has it impacted your political views at all?
Honestly, a little bit, yes. I was very staunchly anti-right wing at the time, and I started following a bit more right wing voices and forming a more nuanced position on a lot of things after that. But it's not. It did not really shift a lot of my things. I remained a libertarian mostly.
Okay. Are you okay with gaming sites criticizing games through a political or religious lens, such as a Marxist, feminist, or Christian, or other lens?
Depending on what you're doing. If you think the Crash Center Gamer is a very good example of a website that does it right. It's a site called Crash Center Gamer, who makes Christian criticism aside from the gaming website that says things that puts a specific lens is not necessarily a bad thing. The point is that this very American thing, and not very natural thing, even for Americans, that is making the politics the center point, and at the extent of everything else is not something that I endorse. And this making your message, your review universal instead of just your opinion, like saying that for my tastes there is too much nudity in this game. It made me a little uncomfortable. Is something. Saying the nudity is uncomfortable is something else.
Do you think there's any value in criticizing or analyzing games from a political lens?
I'm assuming it's theoretically possible in a specific way, in a specific context, in a specific. When I see American politics into anything, I feel like vomiting. Quite honestly, keep them out of this thing. I don't care.
If they
I don't
put in
care
Italian
about gender
politics instead of
politics in my.
American politics, would you?
Eh?
If they put in Italian politics instead of American politics, would you have cared more or no?
Depends. Depends on what you are trying to do. Depends on what you are. If you are. If you are making a story about the recent status of Italy during the Berlusconi age, yes, you have to talk about politics. You have to talk about what's happening. You have to talk about. But this is theoretical. What you are talking about when you're telling me politics, you're telling me about American gender politics, which is something that has nothing to do with. I want to shoot aliens. I don't care about. If you're writing a story, a touching story about a transgender coming out with their parents and the struggles they're facing, okay, that's a story. That's not a story for me, or maybe it is a story for me if it's well written. Making a story about if the video game is about shooting aliens, I don't care about. And suddenly it is there is this blatant political message inside it. I get thrown out of the story like a brick. So that kind of thing is not something that I want. If you're talking about that, that is not something natural, and it is not something organic, and it sucks dick. It would suck dick even if the opposite message, but we talk about it.
Couldn't somebody respond to that by saying, well, not all games are made just for you. The games press should also write about games that are made for niche audiences that aren't the stereotypical gamer, quote unquote, whatever that happens to be.
Somebody could answer that, and I would say, isn't that what I just said? That I'm perfectly fine with having the story about. I'm not fine with suddenly having to deal with a political message in a place where it doesn't belong. I'm not fine with having a discussion about my car insurance where it doesn't belong. I'm not fine about having a commercial for wood glue in the. I don't care about being oriented and about being in an organic way in a place that doesn't make sense. It is about the quality, not about the. If it is, if you have to. If I make a story about a group of adventurers going on an adventure and slaying the evil wizard, the story should be natural. The character that works better as an old woman should be an old woman. The character that works better and is more as an hot woman should be an hot woman. The character that works better as a angry young man should be an angry young man, because you should be what makes the story good, not what makes what fills a quota. I don't want to see a black person appearing in a medieval fantasy taking place in Europe or something that is strongly inspired by that feels jarring and off-putting unless they make sense in some white people being present in a story taking place in India is equally stupid. You understand what I mean?
Well, let me push back a little bit here. So
Push it.
so I understand. I don't think that game developers actually do have a moral obligation. I don't think they have a moral obligation to have diversity in their games, especially if it doesn't make sense for the story, like having a game set in medieval Europe, let's say.
Uh, sorry,
But if
just
you
one,
if you do
just one
have
thing.
yeah, but if you
I took
do
diversity.
have but
I took diversity as an example. It could have been anything else.
right, right,
A
but like
political
there,
message.
but you can understand too. If they want black people to play their games, throwing in like a couple of black characters into the medieval setting, like that might make it more likely that black people buy their product, right? And
Mm,
or that they maybe even have like a better
debatably.
experience because like it's not just like, oh
I don't
well, there's
know.
not a single person who looks like me in this entire game at all, right?
I don't. There's this thing that you Americans have about black people that is a bit strange for, at least for me. That is, it is an ethnic group that has been in your country forever and has formed their own identity, has formed their own thing. The It's a bit strange for me. If I see a black person in the street in Italy right now, I am going to assume they either a first generation immigrant that has been coming from, I don't know, Senegal or Nigeria, and is a Nigerian that has just come to Italy and speaks English or French, Senegalese speak French better than Italian, and is can make assumptions about their financial situation, their some things based on that, and or it could be between that and a descendant of first generation immigrants that is functionally an Italian with black skin that has gone to school in Italy, has been friends with Italian children, children of whatever nationality were whatever ethnicity the parents were. They speak Italian natively. They have some ties to their old culture. But for black people, and I think that's how Americans view Mexicans or Korean immigrants or whatever. But the black people have their own identity, their own thing. They have their own that is an own culture, even an accent, even though it feels strange. I mean, at least the urban black people, I don't even know. If I say something inaccurate, that's because I'm not American and not because I'm.
No, no, you're totally. I don't assume that you are.
So
Yeah,
that's
I guess it's. I guess it's
but
because.
the point is, if I make a game taking place in medieval Europe and I put in a black person, what does that say about my identity as a black man? Because that person is not the person is not going to speak with the accent that urban New Yorkese people are making. He's not going to be discriminated in Baldur's Gate 3 because they're black. If they are, it's going to be horrible. I don't get upset because they're not Italian representation in games, or because the representation of people is not similar to me enough, or there is Italian representation in games. The most famous gaming character in the world is Italian. Mamma mia!
Yeah,
And
I guess it
the
does.
brother of the. But you understand what? And I'm not playing
Yeah.
Super Mario and getting upset because Mario is a moron that only says two sentences, or it's a game. It's not meant to be. It's I think it's misplaced to make this kind of reasoning
Well,
because again, it's not really my. It looks like me. Who does that?
well, I do. Maybe it is more of an American thing because two reasons. Like one, well, there's two things. Like one, yes, a lot of people do relate to characters regardless of the race. There's a lot of black people who have who have characters that they like, who are white or Asian or whatever, right? There's a lot of women who like male characters, a lot of men who like female characters. You don't have to be the look like the character to relate to them. That's part of what makes art so great. But historically in the United States, it does seem like for a long period of time, black people were excluded from entertainment. So there would be like almost no black people on television or movies at all. And then that and what few were sometimes oftentimes like stereotyped, right? Like you see
Mhm.
like in like the old like James Bond movies and stuff, they would have like stereotypes of black people in them. And that would be like the only black character in like the entire, in the entire movie. Where even though black people represented a pretty big portion of the American population, they weren't included at all. And so like people have rightly tried to like correct that by allowing more and more black people in films, which I think is good. But they've also like done, but they've also maybe gone too far with this push, and now
It's very simple, Tachyon. The opposite of there is equality and there is discrimination. These are the opposites. Okay, if I see I remember myself doing something racist once, and when there was some asshole that cut me off on the street in a dangerous way, I got mad at the person. Then I saw that the person was black, an immigrant, something like that, and I toned down. Yeah, maybe the guy started justifying him. No, he was an asshole. I should not have changed my opinion because of his face. Okay, there is no. Again, when I want you to understand this. When I see a Woody Allen movie, I don't understand the whole thing about Jews. Okay, what's this thing about Jews? Woody Allen. Yeah. At least she's Jewish. Well, I know I'm Jewish. I am. There is nothing like that in Italy, and I didn't know that, but Italy is the exception. In Italy, Jews are integrated. We can't tell the difference. Okay, there is no. And as a result, despite Mussolini copying Hitler's racial laws, despite the worst situation possible everywhere in Europe, when Italy was the place where people Jews went to go to America to save themselves, to get out of the discrimination everywhere in Europe. You see the Hannah Arendt's The Banality of Evil. The rest of the part about Italy is the most proud I felt about my country, and all the rest of the countries in Europe, the part where it's a story of how Jews in that part of the country get to Italy. This is why the moment you discriminate, the moment you take somebody that is, and you treat them differently, that's when you start. And I understand it is complicated because in the 50s, they were black people in America were still drinking from separate faucets. I know that it is complicated. I know that it isn't like that. I know that there is things, but discriminating makes racial wars. Discriminating in any direction. There is, and the concerning media, it is really not doing a positive effect. I think, not an educational effect on people. It's only creating more controversy, and I think that in the long run it will not do very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you interact
I
with
am
any?
angry.
Did you ever
I am angry.
I'm sorry. What did you
Sorry,
say?
why? I'm hungry.
Oh, yeah, we're
Did I
rushing
ever
through.
interact with
Okay, we're right. We're rushing through. Did you interact with any anti-GamerGate people?
very few and very. I had some very ridiculous interactions. I tried to contact Crash Override concerning I got blocked. I got mocked. I got even when I was trying to be. I had other interactions that were more decent, but it was a surprisingly stubborn ideological phalanx. I felt like I was talking to cultists most of the time, with very few exceptions.
Do you have any thoughts
Next,
on Not Your Shield?
Not Your Shield. I stand by my position on identity politics. The identity politics and identity are not that. It was what was needed at the time, but it was a bit weird to go into identity politics. It was a message that was the message. Yeah, I'm a. It showed that there were female supporters of the on females right on the GamerGate hashtag, and that was not. But it was still playing in identity politics field. Okay. If I tell you, Tachyon Brew, you are a racist, and you show up with a series of sheets showing me that you are not a racist, we are still talking about you being about if you are racist or not all evening, and you're still playing in my hands. It's I think a lot of people did very well to do that. I appreciate a lot of the effort that was taken by the posters. I have had some very nice interaction with several of the main people that were I've met several great women through GamerGate, and I'm proud of having talked to them, even of the small interactions I've had. But I'm not really I don't know if it was the best at the time. It was a move that made sense. I was not opposed to it, but thinking about it right now may not have been the best tactic on the long run.
Okay. Some people say that GamerGate was about harassment and or hating women. You've talked before about why you think this isn't true. Is there anything else you want to talk about regarding the harassment allegations against GamerGate people?
I think I talked about it to a very reasonable extent. I think we have already covered the topic.
Okay. Now, do you want to talk
I
about how
I could try by memory to tell you about the specific cases or anything, but I think it's particularly fascinating that when Zoe Queen wrote her cracked article about her harassment, she didn't talk about death threats getting sent. She talked about when she went into into a chat room of people that were talking about stuff and we're privately talking shit about her. That's not harassment. That's people talking shit on their own.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it wasn't a private chat room. It was if you're talking about the Burgers and Fries IRC, it was public, but it was really obscure. Like most people wouldn't find it ever.
Yeah, but when I went and asked the GamerGate people the people posting the GamerGate hashtag to give me information about their harassment, I restricted myself to doxing or direct death threats that they receive, and I got a swarm of that. Even if you there was not doxing, there was not that threat. There was people discussing in a private place where he went discussing a relatively obscure place where she deliberately went and looked for it. Let's not talk about this anymore.
Okay.
There was a lot of fascinating things, but I already talked about it to an extent, and it's getting late, and I'm getting.
Yes. We are really approaching the end. We really are. I promise.
If you want, we can continue another time.
We can rush through real quick. So
rush.
Okay.
Rush.
Okay.
I'm jumping.
Okay. What do you think about how the media covered GamerGate?
There were a mix of people that were deeply involved and deeply wanted to cover their asses or their friends' asses and were dishonest and assholes, and the people that were extremely superficial and just smelled blood in the water and simply went with the scandalistic approach. The fact that a lot of things I said back in the day that it was less a story about vilifying people, a certain vilifying people that we were talking about, and was more about vilifying the journalists that said the things that vilified, because they took a sledgehammer to their own reputation by saying obviously stupid things. Right now, I think in 2023, it is absolutely obvious that certain specific people were scammers that were very, very well praised by journalists to the point that they went to make public appearances and stuff. It's not really a good mark on those journalists.
Now, you ran one of the most public GamerGate websites, or GamerGate-related websites in the world, and you had your publicly available contact information right there on the website. Did any journalists who were writing articles about GamerGate reach out to you?
There was a journalist that reached out to me about talking about when DeepFreeze came out to talk to me about it, but not about GamerGate specifically. You have to keep in mind though that DeepFreeze launched in 2015, so that most of the articles were already out. So the GamerGate scandals were the most discussion about GamerGate was before that. Later, it was not that.
Dude, I don't know, man. Dude, I wouldn't say that because I remember, dude. It was articles for years, dude. They would write articles for years about this.
The earliest articles when GamerGate was a thing by itself, when people were articles about GamerGate were more of a thing earlier.
Because I remember
the articles you're talking about mentioned GamerGate as part of it. No, journalists did not approach me to talk about this kind of thing, or did not have significant things. I have been contacted by journalists for things. There was one journalist simply asked for me to remove his picture, which I did. One hilarious email I got, I loved it. It was fantastic. It was from an outlet that was barely mentioned. That had nothing to do with simply was one place where one journalist had worked. They had no articles. It was a major actually, and they were upset with me. They were frustrated. They were not upset with me, but they were frustrated. They asked me to replace their logo because I had picked a logo that fit better with DeepFreeze's team. That was in a better resolution, and I was the highest result on when people look for their logo, and it was the wrong logo. And they were upset, and they asked me to change their logo. I did. It was hilarious. Their logo was not high resolution enough, so that's something that didn't work for me. So, yes, because DeepFreeze used the transparent logos. I didn't find their logo in transparent, and so I didn't feel like making it myself, so I simply picked the only one that was vectorial. They sent me a resolution logo, but it was better than the one I had, so it was fine.
If a journalist who got GamerGate wrong, in your view, is reading this right now, what do you want that journalist to reconsider?
I don't know. I think that ship has passed, so it's not really that relevant.
What do you think the media can learn from how they covered GamerGate?
I don't think there is anything to learn. The journalists that made the allegations are either people who were dishonest or people who not dishonest as in slightly the people who pissed on the floor, who made the bad coverage of GamerGate, or people who lied knowing they were lying, or people who simply did not research anything. So there is really nothing to learn there. Don't piss on the floor. It's really not there's really not. What is it that you got? It's things that are there weren't things that were technical mistakes or small things, or they didn't consider this aspect, they didn't do this due diligence due to this specific thing. They were lying or not reading anything and simply copying what the other article said. There's nothing to be
like, dude. I'm right there with you, man. Like, they're either the most lazy motherfuckers on earth or they lied. There's just no way. There's no way they look at something as big as this, as nuanced as this, with as many people involved, and they don't even talk about anything that actually happened. They don't talk about a single thing. All they say is Gamergate hates women. Gamergate wants to drive women from their homes out of the gaming industry. That's all they said in their articles. They didn't say anything that was even remotely related to Gamergate.
And
They didn't
again,
do any research at all. They didn't talk to a single person who disagreed with them. The vast majority of these journalists didn't. They didn't even like do a quick search online to see like, well, hang on, is there an opposing viewpoint on this thing? Huh, let me check. No, they never did any of that.
well,
Yeah.
food.
Did you see the Gamergate Wikipedia article?
I'm very familiar with that thing, and it is a bit ridiculous. I have stopped my donations to Wikipedia due to that bullshit. I don't know if it has changed. I suppose it hasn't, because it's only
It's gotten
taking.
worse.
Whatever. Let them. Again, I don't really particularly care, because it is what it is. There was no. I say that there was too much attachment to that. To the name and to the thing. The thing that mattered to me most was games journalists showing their being scandalized and being part of the scandals concerning gaming journalists. The moment you shift the discussion to Gamergate, is Gamergate sexist or not? Even if you prove without a shadow of a doubt that Gamergate was not sexist, you're already playing their game, and so you're already lost. The game you had to play was, in my opinion, that's part of how I tried steering the conversation, was let's talk about all the conflicts of interest of Mr. Nathan Grayson. That's the discussion that I think was more productive.
So do
It
you
was
think
not.
they're do you think do you not care at all then that the media like smeared all these people and
I do care, and I do think that it is bullshit, and I do think that it shows how crap Wikipedia can be sometimes. But I think that there is not much that can be done about it. That's simply not a. What do you think can be done about it? How do you think? Because the article on Wikipedia is locked behind the admin, the whatever, the power editor. It requires. It is nigh impossible to put it back, to put it in a more nuanced perspective. But even if it is, I have not bought anything on GOG since they said explicitly that Gamergate was an harassment movement. I don't remember what they did. I remember that I know that they haven't apologized to me personally, and so I've stopped buying from them personally, which I find it to be a pity, because I thought it was an
wait,
important institution and
you stopped buying from where?
GOG, Good Old Games.
Oh, okay. Well, they used to allow Gamergate discussion. Didn't they?
No, Good Old Games did
They had a whole mega
tweet.
thread there.
Good Old Games tweet had a sale on Postal. If you remember, Postal had a tomb of game journalists.
Yeah,
They
I don't.
accidentally posted that image. They made, and then they made and then they made some people were scandalized, and then they made so they made a tweet of apologies, and they said that Gamergate is an harassment movement and something to that effect. So I got, and then when they saw
Yeah,
that
if you could
caused
send me
more
that.
problems, they thought they would solve it by making an anime avatar or something to that effect. I don't remember what the bloody hell they did. They didn't
Yeah, you know,
apologize to
just
me.
it doesn't have to be now, but at some point, just shoot me the sources on this, and I'll look over it. But I do remember they did allow GamerGate discussion on their forums, and there was an extremely active GamerGate mega thread there, probably tens of thousands of posts, perhaps even. or at least thousands, if not tens of thousands of posts. They did allow a lot of discussion about Gamergate. Maybe they did tweet something out. I don't know. Just send it to me, but let's move on. Um, what's your
Let's
favorite
wrap
video game?
it up. Excuse me?
What's your favorite video game?
Favorite video game? Good question. From the there are a lot of games that I can think of that did something really unique and beautiful, and that I have a lot of nostalgic. I think that if I have to think about a game, that Final Fantasy VI, got it from. It was really hard to get. I got it from America because I saw the artwork by Yoshitaka Amano. I saw all the beautiful things. I played it with the on my PAL Super Nintendo with all the attachments on top. I saw the ending years later on the emulator because it worked perfectly until the ending. And the ending was and the ending failed. I finished like 5 times and never saw the full ending. I never saw the I never saw the full ending. I remember that I replayed one more time because it failed during the epilogue when you saw the scenes of individual characters, and you and it did the ending without getting the character. It was called Gogo, the character that was the last one that appeared, to see if that change made the ending work. It didn't. But the game was amazing. It had personalities, it had a story. The villain wins the first part of the game, and you have to go through the ashes. The main character in the second part tries killing herself, depending on it's incredible. It's very strong. It's very, and it was the time where Squaresoft was making great. Chrono Trigger was making a lot of great experiments. I saw that one. There are a lot of other games I absolutely love. The Souls series. I was an early adapter. I bought Demon Souls when it was not available in Europe before it was famous. Before it was cool. Earthbound is an amazing game that I also had the luck to experience. Despite the fact that it's really rare here in Italy, it's within arm's reach. I can go and get my box with the old games and another game that made a lot of things unusual and right. There's a lot of amazing memories in games for me.
Yeah, I do want to say, so there were 8,424 posts in the Gamergate mega thread on the GOG forums, and they did allow discussion for a while, for a couple of years. But they did actually later engage in censorship and shut down the conversation without any explanation at all. One of the moderators on the forums on February 23rd, 2017, locked the thread and said it was a, quote, sad state of affairs. If anyone wants to know why, just look at the rules. And they just posted a link to the rules, but doesn't give any explanation for why. And it doesn't appear that there were posts in here. As far as I can tell in my initial, again, there's 8,000 posts. And it went on for years, and nobody had any issue with this for several years. And then they censored the discussion of Gamergate in February of 2017 for seemingly no reason. So obviously...
Depends on what you're doing. There is, again, discussing the scandal is something that could be done on a gaming website, but at a certain point, the Gamergate actually will be used for whatever and whatever.
Well, no,
I don't know the context. If they closed the thread that was civil and functional, and they did wrong. But if there was a shit flinging between two factions, it was going off topic. There is one time when somebody has, at the time when during Gamergate, there was this controversy concerning TV tropes not allowed in the discussion of Gamergate. Why would you talk about Gamergate on TV tropes?
Well, people want to talk
Okay.
about Gamergate on a bunch of different forums. This was a
There
massive
was
controversy in the gaming industry at the time. A number of massive controversies.
yes, but the Gamergate is real life. TV tropes is talking about fiction. There was
yes, but people
page.
talk about stuff on other forums.
Posted
And
a
this is a
page
gaming
about
forum.
somebody posted a page about Gamergate on the tropes of Gamergate. There was this talking about Gamergate as if it was a work of fiction. It was so cringe to read. I don't know if cringe is used correctly in this sentence, but I don't know.
It looks like people are pretty civil. I'm going through the posts right now. But again, we can move on. You're not a moderator of the forums. I'm not like grilling you on it or anything. I just wanted to fact check a claim that I was making earlier. That's the only reason I brought it up.
But by the way, of course, Gamergate was banned. Discussion of Gamergate was banned on a lot of forums back in the day by people who were ideologically compromised or assholes, like the guy who used to run for 4chan, now hired by big tech, it's it was a lot of
okay, I just want to the only reason I brought it up okay, look, I just want to clarify the only reason I brought it up is because I wanted to fact check the claim I made earlier about them allowing discussion. Someone in the chat said they did allow discussion, but they did later censor it. I went in, I fact checked, that claim is true. They did later censor the discussion. They don't say why they did so. I just want to clarify for the book. But they do. There is some just like some people in there are like debating the topic a little bit. But as far as I can tell from the last few pages before the moderator stepped in, the last few pages people were pretty civil, and people were asking questions about the movement. People were discussing it in various ways, but they weren't. It doesn't appear that they were being disrespectful or flaming each other or anything like that. But that's from what I can tell, obviously. Anyway, let's move on.
Again, if that is the case, then yes. I simply am not familiar with this thing. If they have stopped the discussion that was civil, that's an actual move by the moderators or a cautious move by after the story became a little hot and they didn't want to be the only ones who had the still shit, but at least part of a bigger shit, let's say. But if I say that there is two things, the possibility that is censorship or the possibility that is simply off topic.
Yeah. Well, let's just move on.
Let's just move on to the direction that brings me closer to dinner.
Did you attend any Gamergate meetups? Were there meetups in Italy?
I'm not familiar with meetups in Italy. I went to the meetup in France. It was I shook hands with a lot of people. I spent a lot of that evening talking to Alun Bokhari. I don't know how it's pronounced. He demanded that I do not lift him when I greeted him goodbye, but I did hug him. I met a lot of nice people. I talked to Milo briefly. I was informed about the fact that at the SPJ there was this female journalist. I don't remember the name. They talked about it at the French meeting. I was aware of it. Somebody told me talked about. They say that there is this woman. I don't know, but they mentioned it. Why didn't you tell her? Okay, sorry. Let's cut back. I'm rambling on. Okay. It was a nice meeting. Right. It was nice to meet some people, and it was a bit of an economic sacrifice at the time, but it was a pleasure to go to Paris. And meet some people over there. It's also a city I like.
Do you have any thoughts on Vivian James or other Gamergate-related art projects?
I think they're awesome. They're amazing. I am very sorry that I never drew a Vivian. I was there for when they made it, and I was smiling all the time when I watched the creation. I absolutely loved the mascots for DeepFreeze and the fact that people made them for. My heart still. I still feel that I have not deserved that much. I love that.
You were there when Vivian James was made, so I have to ask because it's come up in like 2 or 3 of the interviews. Um, there's a rumor that the anti-Gamergate people spread saying that the Piccolo dick joke might have influenced the color scheme to some minute degree. Do you have any thoughts on that? Is that true? Did you
I
see that?
have no. I will not. I will not say that it is that I remember anything about that, because I don't remember the Piccolo Dick being involved in something that Forza would have definitely done. It's still a great color combination, green and purple.
Okay, so you
Green and
don't
purple
think it?
they are opposite colors, even though people don't think that way.
Yeah, I think it's a great color scheme as well. I think it looks beautiful. Which is probably why. But so you never saw people say that it was Piccolo Dick?
I don't remember people saying that this is a Piccolo Dick. There was a Piccolo Dick. I was there. When I was there, the design was already finalized.
Okay, all
I
right.
was there when they were posting pictures of Vivian already formed.
What was your favorite moment during Gamergate?
The I think the mom. I think when the. I think that the time when when there was the um, I think there were many good moments. The moment I thought of was when Gawker was sunk during and all the celebration that followed. I remember the first time I watched the video they made with um, the memes, the jokes, everything was amazing. Gawker versus Hulk Hogan.
If you could have changed one thing about Gamergate, what would it be?
I would have either I cannot change things about that don't regard other people. Concerning me, I would have either not started DeepFreeze and kept up with projects that were more manageable and were not so titanically large that I was either keeping them up or abandoning everything, or I would have done the thing that lightened my load of work earlier, so that I could easier. I should have spent a little bit more on the drawing board for DeepFreeze, and probably things would have survived longer. I think only of that.
What would you personally have done differently during Gamergate?
What I told you. And I would
Let's
have been a bit less of an asshole on Twitter on my early days, but that was me being new.
let's say
I've
it's
been more moderate later.
let's say it's 10 years from now and an online movement is looking to Gamergate for guidance for their movement. What advice do you have for them?
I am I will be 50-year-old in that time. I will be in my little. I will be walking around with my walking stick. I will be probably dead by this at this rate. No, I don't. The advice is simply, and also that's a weird question for me. That what the hell is gonna be there in 10 years? It's gonna be a completely different environment. It's gonna be changed. It's gonna be whatever advice I would give concerning my experience with the movement in 2014 to people that are going through something in 2033 is weird. Try imagining people telling you advice about Gamergate in coming from 1992.
I mean, that could be interesting,
Oh,
but
what could we do with our online movie? Online? Internet? What is online?
well, if there was an online movement in like 1992 that was like kind of similar to Gamergate, I think that could be interesting. I think I would want to hear what those people had to say, right?
First thing you do is you go on the you be careful about this email. I never heard of it. It probably not. Come on, man. Come on.
There were people who used the internet in the 90s, the early 90s.
No, not in. I don't know if 1992. Wait. I think I remember.
Well, Usenet was a thing since the 80s. Usenet was big, and there was modem BBSs before then.
I think I remember 1992. I think I remember I had a 486, so I very much doubt that there was an internet connection there. Well, whatever. Man, I gotta go.
Okay, all right, all right. We got okay. What have you personally
You,
learned from GamerGate?
is that the last question?
No, I've got like 6 more, but I was going to speed through them.
Speed through them. What
Okay.
have I learned? That you cannot trust. I lost most of my trust in the media. Almost all of it.
What do you
That the journalists don't know what they're doing.
do you see
Some journalists.
do you see parallels between GamerGate and the way society currently discusses issues?
Uh, uh, I think that a lot of it, a lot of the polarization of the discussion in especially the American media, reminds me a lot of the polarization that there was in a discussion about on the Gamergate hashtag. But I feel that a lot of the discussion about Gamergate felt to me like I was talking about with cultists to the against with cultists that were and that my side was normal people mostly, and the other side was cultists. With this, the current environment, I feel a lot of the people talking are bots are Russian bots on both sides, and a lot of it feels inorganic.
Have have you ever thought about writing a book about GamerGate or anything like that? Any project?
I want to write a book about about my D&D campaigns. I don't really feel that. No, I don't feel that. I never felt about that there was much of a memoir to make about my experience there.
For
I
the
only wish I had proceeded with my project longer or didn't abandon it.
for you personally, was GamerGate successful in your eyes?
Again, you're talking about Gamergate as if it was a group. I would say that.
No, for you personally. Like, are you happy with the outcome, or can you live with it? Or you like it? Do you not like it?
Can I leave you with that? Yes, of course. As far as I'm concerned, my experience was that I've seen the power of gathering information. I have learned a lot of important lessons that were useful in my career. I have made a lot of friends and saw a lot of great potential in the world and the great people that were there. I've been I've been proud of what I did, and my regrets are not doing more or doing longer or being more sustainable in that. But I do not, and I do feel that in the end, the things that matter went through. The Wikipedia page for Gamergate is crap, but game journalism has sunk like a boat. Gawker is no more. A lot of other outlets are smaller or they're not as powerful as before. Yes, there is the whole the whole thing where I mean all these SJW proliferation, but I think they're on the way out, and I think they've had their and I think a large part of I think they have had to deal with there's a turn on their side since the day one that made them these movements less successful than they could have been. The fact that they show their ugly face immediately when facing gamers. I think that looking at it in retrospect, if you take it as a movement, Gamergate was very successful. I don't take it as a movement completely, but you understand what I mean.
All right. Last couple. What do you think of this interview project?
I'm not familiar with the interview project. I know you asked me to interview me. I said okay, and I came.
Well, I'm glad you did.
Think, eh?
I'm glad you did. Sorry, I don't cut you off.
Eh? It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I expected more. I was not prepared for this. I thought it was more of an interview to me specifically, not the same questions as.
Oh
But
yeah,
whatever.
sorry. I should have sent those to you sooner.
No, no,
Also,
no,
I'm
man.
sorry I cut you off
It's
so many
okay.
times. I felt like I had to be more aggressive and assertive because I know that you said earlier, "Hey, just cut me off if I ramble a little bit." So I wanted to be more assertive in it, but I don't want to be rude. I know that you have a lot you want to say.
I apologize. I'm a cretin who cannot keep. I apologize for keeping you this long.
Oh, dude, I've gone like over 7 hours in a couple of them. Um,
Eh,
okay, so some people reading this is the last question before I do an open. Um, some people reading this might hold a negative view of Gamergate. Is there anything you want to say to them? Your parting message to the anti-Gamergate people. Last chance to change their mind, perhaps.
I don't really care, and I don't even understand why you would hold an opinion about something. Don't that don't form your opinion on ideology, politics, or that what you feel that you should do because you have a go look at the things that happened. Go look at the if you want to. Gamergate is not part of your life, probably now in 2023. It is something that has happened. One is in the prehistory of prehistory, given the speed of. So whatever you think about Gamergate is not really something that matters. Go look at. Go look at if you think that the media is lying to you or not, because that is something that matters in your life today. Go look at if you see the. Go look at if the. And don't look at the media that you don't like and just or the media that you like in a different way. That look at it in general, how much you can try, because it is a serious problem and a serious question. No, be careful about the alternative news sources that check that the. Be careful not to be throwing away the wet with the chaff or vice versa, and not to think that all alternative media is stupid because some alternative media sound stupid, or because somebody is trying to put your attention on the stuff that is more stupid, or because some people are stupid and are trying to be and think that being alternative media is just having a different political ideology than the ones that are in charge right now, instead of trying to be different than the ones that are in charge right now. And about Gamergate itself, it's something that has no impact on your life whatsoever at this point. It's who wins, who's got because the Wikipedia page is. It is not something that matters to you. What matters to you is whether you are being lied to or force-fed stuff or being told that somebody fighting for freedom of information is fighting for an ideology or vice versa. I'm rambling. You hear me? It's late.
Yeah. Well, hey, anything else you want to talk about?
If you want, I can come back another time, but right now I am. It's been very long.
I think we're good. I think we're good in what we covered. Are you okay if I make smaller clips out of this to promote the book and project?
Do whatever you want, but be aware that please be. I would limit myself to the first part of the interview because the second part I'm kind of tired.
Oh,
You
so
only heard
do
me
I
tired.
not have your permission to make clips from the full interview?
No,
I'll be careful, of course.
do whatever. Bonegolem is a guy that hasn't tweeted since 2022. I don't particularly have. I'll slip out of these shoes briefly and doubt I will be there much.
Okay. Well, I'll make clips from the full thing then once I get to that portion. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you everybody for watching. And we'll go ahead and on YouTube. We're going to be rating Kenko
I,
more, Destiny's
how,
producer
many,
for
how many people
GamerGate.
are how many people are watching?
Not many. We've got like 2 people on YouTube right now. Um,
Hi, that's hi to both of you. Whoever.
yeah. So we're gonna go ahead
Okay,
and raid all 2 of you over to Kenko more, and then we're gonna
a
raid
raid. I don't know. I don't know what a
Twitch
raid
Roy
is.
Calbeck. Oh, it's a streamer thing.